so I can see people.
Adobe.
What I think, yeah, Adobe.
Show on the right. What do y'all think?
Crowd this morning.
Feet away from me. Welcome, everyone. I'd like to call the July 22nd, 2025 meeting of the Marine Resources Commission to order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance led by Associate Member Bransom, followed by invocation by Associate Member Urson.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let us pray. Thank you, Lord, for giving us this day to gather here at Virginia Marine Resources Commission. Allow us the knowledge and wisdom to respectfully discuss important marine resource commissions. We pray for this in your name. Amen.
Amen. Welcome again, everyone. It's good to see everybody. We'll do a few things here first. Let's approval of the agenda. Are there any corrections, deletions, or changes from the commission members or staff to the current agenda? Not seeing any. Not seeing any. Matters before the commission.
Move to approve.
Motion to approve from Mr. Branson.
Second.
Second from Mr. Headley. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries 8-0. The minutes. Are there any corrections, deletions, or changes from the commission members or staff for the June 24th, 2025 commission meeting minutes? Are there any corrections needed to be made? Seeing none from anyone, matters before the commission.
Motion to approve minutes.
Got a motion to approve from Mr. Headley. Need a second?
Second.
Need a second from Ms. Edwards. Any further discussion? I know there was a couple that weren't here. I'll ask for the abstentions afterwards. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Any abstentions?
Branson abstains.
Mr. Branson abstains. Motion carries 7-0 and 1. All right, let's swear in VMRC staff and VIM staff that will be speaking and presenting testimony during today's meeting. Do you swear to tell the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God? I do. Thank you. Appreciate you guys. All right, I'm going to take a moment of personal privilege real quick and turn this over to Colonel Rogers for a few minutes.
I'd like to call up First Sergeant Jeff Copperthite, please. That way y'all can look at him and not me and see his reaction to my words this morning. Come on up, come on, stand beside me. Yes, sir. I won't bite. Good morning, Commissioner and associate members. Thank you for your time this morning. There is an adage in the workplace that everyone is replaceable. Although business will continue on, this phrase is overused and simply is not true. Today, First Sergeant Jeffrey Copperthite retires from the Marine Police Division with that over 25 years of experience in this agency. That is not replaceable. First Sergeant Copperthite has been a constant in the Marine Police Division and a reliable source of knowledge, experience, and leadership. He has served this great Commonwealth for 25 years as a Marine police officer. Prior to his role with VMRC, he served 8 years with the Norfolk Police Department. Taken together, that is 33 years of service to the profession of law enforcement. That is not replaceable. Since my time with VMRC, I have leaned on First Sergeant Copperthite for many things. His dependability and dedication to the division is unmatched. In fact, he is the first person that comes to mind when a problem arises that requires immediate attention and quick resolution. As such, he is a role model for his fellow officers that is revered. First Sergeant Copperthite has made a lasting impression on this division. That is not replaceable. So begrudgingly, and after much discussion with First Sergeant, the Marine Police Division wishes First Sergeant Copperthite a well-deserved and happy retirement. In honor of his years of service to VMRC, I present this oar. The oar contains his badge, challenge coin, patch, and a plaque that reads, Jeffrey Copperthite, First Sergeant, 25 years of service, September 25th, 1999 to August 1st, 2025. This Marine Police Officer badge number 602 worn on the waters of the Commonwealth, which symbolizes your outstanding and dedicated service as a protector of marine and aquatic resources. This is, again, his badge, First Sergeant badge. It's a challenge coin. It says Guardians of the Chesapeake, which you were. And of course, our current patron. Yes, sir. Congratulations. Yes, sir.
One of the greatest I've ever worked with. Thank you, Jeff. Captain Berryman is here in the back, and Lieutenant Colonel Bell is back there, and I can speak on behalf of them and our careers, our whole careers we've worked with Jeff. And I'm gonna tell you something, there hasn't been a better employee in this building for VMRC since I've been here. This guy answers the phone on the worst conditions, when he's off with his family, comes out and responds and helps. Just an absolute selfless person. We are going to miss you, your expertise, your knowledge, and the fact that when we always called, you were always there. That is something we're missing a lot today. You have never once not answered the phone, and we are going to miss that. And thank you for that. So, that being said, Randy, you got to follow Jeff.
I'm going to miss him as well. He's taking me in a few places by boat. You know, the only way to get to us by boat. So, we have one page 2 item. Importantly, I'd like to think that has something to do with the legislation that passed last year. For the Sebaco's component of the page 2 cases that are before you, the new project cap to kick it into page 2 is $1 million as opposed to $500,000. So any projects that are now less than $1 million that otherwise carry staff recommendation, we can process administratively. So this one exceeds $1 million. So this is Kinder Morgan Transmix Company requesting authorization to install a 50-foot, 54-inch diameter steel mooring monopile with a 66-inch diameter rock socket along the James River, serving 3302 Deepwater Road in the city of Richmond. And I think the commissioner may know, he used to fish up that way. If you don't pin it in the bedrock, the ice and the floods take it away. So this is their attempt to put in a monopile that won't wash down the river. Commissioner, we did, I mentioned it earlier, we did leave out the sentence for the royalty, so we're recommending approval of the project with an encroachment royalty that will be calculated at $2 a square foot for the footprint of the proposed monopile. With that, I'm ready for any questions, sir.
Any questions for Chief Owen from the commission? Thank you, Chief Owen. I'm going to open it up real quick. Is the applicant or anyone here that wishes to speak on this project before we go forward? Anyone? No one wants to speak? All right. That being said, matters, item 2 number, we only have one this month, is before the commission.
Move to approve page 2 item.
Got a motion to approve page 2 item with the royalty, is that correct?
Yes.
Yep, from Mr. Bransom, and I have a second from Mr. Erskine. Is there any discussion? A properly made motion to approve the project with the royalty of $2 a square foot. From Mr. Bransom, properly second, Mr. Erskine. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Motion carries 8-0. Consent agenda items. Randy, I got you highlighted here for that today.
We have one consent item. Mr. Larry Shores is requesting after-the-fact authorization to retain 7 crab shedding trays that he did affix without knowledge that he needed a permit to his private pier. He does not sell the animals. However, he does hold a commercial crab shedding tank license. So even though he is not selling them, he does hold a license. And we worked with him and his brother. His brother just called this morning and said that he couldn't make it down. They've been extremely good to work with. They have the option of either removing the trays or pursuing the commercial use of the pier in the event they ever do want to sell them. So we are recommending approval. He has agreed to a triple permit fee of $300 and encroachment royalty of $4,952 for the 2,476 square feet foot area of the pier that would be treated as a commercial pier. So we will recommend approval. with the, retention of the crab shedding trays as installed and to convert the private pier to commercial use.
Okay. Any questions? Yes, sir. Mr. Wentz?
Chief, the application, if I recall, did not ask for commercial purposes. It only said residential. And the adjacent property owners both stressed in their letter saying we support it residential only. So why would we entertain for commercial purposes as well? Only because he has a crab shed license?
Yeah,
He didn't ask for the commercial
we asked him
side.
to
He
remove
just
the
asked
trays. We asked him to remove the trays, and he said, can I pursue the approval of retaining them? And said, certainly it's up to the commission. We don't have letters of opposition from the adjacent property owners. They were notified of this hearing. So absent any objections, we've moved forward.
But the letter that the adjacent property owner sent said for residential use, not for commercial, just said residential use on the crab shedding. They made a note, pencil, pen, whatever, that said residential only. So I
Understand.
would say they'd support residential only.
Well,
They didn't comment on commercial.
perhaps, Commissioner, they're not going anywhere. They've been there for years, and perhaps we should bring it back next month and get that point clarified.
If he's not a commercial waterman, but he has a commercial license, and I can't imagine for residential use.
So he's not selling the crabs.
Right.
So you could argue that they've met the spirit and intent but we were uncomfortable with someone holding a shedding license and having a private pier with shedding tanks on it. So we felt like the pier needed to be approved as a commercial use pier. Although he's telling us he's not going to ever sell the crabs.
But he could.
But he could. He has a license. So, we figured that either the trays need to come off or he needed to be legitimately commercial. And barring the opposition, we brought it in the way we did.
Let me ask one question. Would you approve it the same footprint if it was recreational?
It's authorized by statute. As far as the pier, yes, sir.
So the same footprint would have been,
Yeah, the only thing he did was he cantilevered 7 trays off the edge of it, which can be removed.
Was the opposition aware that he is using it for commercial versus residential?
Well, but he's not using it commercial.
but was-
That's kind of the sticking point is, he holds the license. If he would forego the license, he would still, you can't have shedding trays on a private pier without a permit.
Let me re-ask it. Were they aware that he could?
I would think so. Yes, sir.
Trying to find the letter.
It's sticky.
How long had the shedding trays been there?
Brad, I believe it was Brad that visited the property, and Kirsten, I have not spoken to the gentleman directly. I don't know that answer, I'm sorry. Multiple years, I believe.
Do we have the letter from the adjacent property owners to see? I'm trying to find it on the iPad if it's in here. I recall that both the letters from each of the property owners were almost identical, and they had it circled off to the side, residential use, and that was they stressed. So
Well, our original recommendation was to remove the trays. So,
I mean,
and we're here at their request to see if you would consider retaining
I
them.
would think a resident can have a shedding tray on their dock for their own use, right? Or does it have to
We
be
actually,
licensed commercially?
not when you hold a license, in our opinion. We have a case that played out in the 90s. I forget the gentleman's name, and he had shedding trays on his private pier, and the commission, I ordered him to remove them.
Yeah, I like soft-shell crabs.
They're not authorized by statute. The private pier authority under, 28.2.12.03.A5 does not envision crab shedding trays. We kind of look the other way on a fish cleaning station, a boat lift, we consider part of a private use pier, but when you start hanging, crab shedding trays and you hold a shedding license, you're now hinting commercial, whether you sell them or not. The gentleman is older, he's not selling them. My recommendation was to remove them, but at his request, we did bring him in here. And, his brother, who's younger, called this morning and said he couldn't make it. Perhaps, Commissioner, we should bring it back next month. I mean, I don't think 30 days is gonna make a difference. They've been out there, as Mr. Headley, kind of pointed to, for a number of years, so.
Any more questions? Thank you, Randy. Is there anyone in the audience that wishes to speak on this matter? All right. That being said, matters before the commission.
I'd make a motion to refer this back to the August meeting, commission meeting, and get clarification from the applicant whether or not it's residential or commercial.
Okay, got a-
And second.
All right, okay, got a motion to postpone this to the August meeting and put it on the August agenda from Mr. Erskine, and I have a second from Mr. Branson. Any further discussion?
Was that for residential?
Just to postpone it and let them come back and get prepared
Okay.
and advertise it properly. Make sure it's advertised, get it on the agenda. All right, I have a properly made motion. It's been properly seconded to postpone this till the August meeting. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries 8-0. Put it on August. We're filling August up already. All right, do we need a closed meeting for briefing from council?
No, sir.
Thank you. Adam Kenyon, looks like the floor is yours. What? Wait a minute, am I missing a page? I'm missing a page here. Randy.
Okay. Good morning again. Cockrell Farms LLC is requesting authorization to construct and backfill a 387-foot vinyl replacement bulkhead, mechanically dredged, 280 cubic yards of state-owned submerged lands with upland disposal, and to construct a 3,420 square foot concrete commercial wharf adjacent to their property on Little Quamico River, 309 Railway Drive in Northumberland County. The project is protested by 2 adjacent property owners. Project's located on Little Quamico, upstream of the Sunny Bank Ferry in the Ophelia section of the county. The Cockrell Marine Railway and Marina is a commercially zoned parcel, also provides for the offloading, culling, and refrigeration of live oysters in support of a large shellfish aquaculture operation. There are 4 project elements: dredging, upland disposal, the bulkhead, and the open pile concrete wharf. Jeff Madden's been so kind as to color everything in for you. The dredging will be occur in 3 small areas along the bulkhead, just dropping the elevations back to -4 foot mean low water. That's the areas in blue. They'll transport the dredge material right on site to the upland disposal area here. We're also going to replace 387 linear feet of a very much needed, failing bulkhead. And I've highlighted in red the footprint of the proposed concrete open pile wharf, which is in red here. Importantly, that wharf will be proposed under an area that's currently roofed and represents boat slips now. There'll be a little bit of an overhang so that the boats can lay beside it, offload their catch. It's occurring in this section of the existing facility. They'll take that roof off, construct the wharf, and re-roof it to make sure the product's under cover shade. I got a little crazy here and did a little artistic rendering. I'm hoping it was necessary for me to understand the project. I hope it helps you, but what you've got here looking in this direction is a very confined area. They have a counting and a culling machine in there, and they're bumping into each other's elbows in there. They don't have enough room. So they'd like to forego these slips and come out with a concrete wharf. Looking at it from the other angle, you can again see how confined it is in here. The agent's here in case I misinterpreted his drawings. It is protested by Ms. Olivia Cockrell and her husband, John Morgenthaler. We did receive letters of rejection from the attorney, Stanley Murphy, who's here today, expressing his client's concerns over the use and development of the applicant's upland property and the expansion of the marina. There were some questions about whether the existing encroachments channel mainland water are permitted under VMRC jurisdiction currently, and that they were not notified of the previous marine expansion. And we did learn, Jeff went up and met Mr. Cockrell, handed over his files to the agent, Craig Pavensky. Jeff spent the morning with him looking over all the permit history. There's a number of permits that have been issued for this facility. Those actions that were before the commission in those years, there was a parcel that was adjacent that was owned by a different Cockrell that was not Olivia and her husband. So that was the member that was notified during that time frame as the adjacent property owner. The agent can speak to that as well. Northumberland County has no problem with it. There are no tidal wetland impacts and no other county approvals required. Both sections of the health department are in favor of it. And I have a final slide. I asked the agent, everything we do with the joint permit application is purpose and need. Tell me why you need this structure. So this was the agent coming back to me with this information. So the area where hopefully you can see now, I'm showing you the area that was congested and under roof where it's their current wharf. The red will be the new wharf. They will re-roof it. They have an existing counter and a culling machine now. They'll double that up. They'll move those two back out. They'll purchase two more so they can offload product on either side, and they'll have more room to move the pallets and the shellfish into their adjacent building for refrigeration. So that's driving the need as we understand it. So I'll leave that slide up and go to my recommendation. We've researched the information, the claims made by the protestants, and have not found any unauthorized encroachments over state-owned submerged land associated with the more recent marine expansion. After reviewing the application and considering the agent's rationale for the requested improvements, we believe the bulkhead repair, dredging, and new wharf constitute a reasonable use of state-owned submerged land and are consistent with other commercial aquaculture landing facilities in the Commonwealth. Accordingly, after evaluating the merits of the project against the concerns expressed by those in opposition, and after considering all the factors in 28-1205A of the code, and we recommend approval as proposed. And just to point out, if this is approved, the permit is exempt from royalties as they do operate a boat repair facility.
Any questions for Chief Owen from the commission? Mr. Erskine?
Mr. Owen, thank you. So with the concrete wharf that's proposed, is there any mitigation that's required in that for covering some aqueous land, like
No, it's
wetlands mitigation or a plant and shell or anything like that?
It's a wet slip now where the boats are tying up. He actually asked me if he could bulk it and backfill it, and I told him, quite frankly, sir, I wouldn't drive up for that meeting. So his agent and him came back with the open pile design, which is how we that's exactly what we ask people to do, is to wharf out to navigable water, try to minimize your dredging. Don't ask us to fill it. So you might say he's already, been guided a little bit by me already. Open pile wharfs are, it's certainly at your discretion. We have not typically required compensation for subaqueous impacts for open pile structures.
Any more questions? Thank you, Randy. Is the applicant or a representative for the applicant present and wish to speak at this time? Please raise your right hand. You swear to tell the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
And state your name for the record, please.
My name is Craig Palabinski. I'm with Bayshore Design, Hague, Virginia. I'm the agent who prepared this joint permit application. Along with me is Miles Cockrell of Cockrell Farms, the applicant. Ladies and gentlemen, Commission, first of all, I thank you for the opportunity to be here today to consider our permit request. And also thank you to Mr. Owen and Mr. Madden for getting the project before you. I have nothing further to add to the project description. I'll be more than happy to answer any questions or go over any specifics of the project at this time. Thank you.
Is there any questions from the commission? Unless you have anything to add. Well, thank you very much. Appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Is there anyone in the audience that wishes to speak on this project at this time? Please. Come forward.
Good morning to you all.
Are you an attorney, sir?
I am, sir.
All right, well, please state your name for the record.
My full name is Earl Stanley Murphy. I'm here on behalf of John Morgenthaler and Olivia Cockrell. It's always a delight to come down here and be with you all, and I promise you I'm going to be very brief. Mr. and Mrs. Morgenthaler Cockrell have two pieces of property immediately adjacent to this. It has been an evolving, their understanding of this project has been evolving. I wrote a long letter to the commission, which I hope you've read, and I promise you I'm not going to go over that. Their concern over the project is the level, the intensity of development on this property. This started 20 years ago as a family railway, and it was taken over by one of the siblings. And over the last 20 years or so, it has evolved from a small rural marine railway to a seafood business. There's a seafood processing business there. There's an active commercial fishery there. There's an aquaculture, oyster business there, in addition to a boatyard, a marina, and those associated things. When we first understood this project, or first were approached about the project, we had great concern about the marsh, and I'm going to separate that from discussion of the wharf. They had a lot of concern about the marsh because under their understanding, the earlier work had not been permitted as they have watched this mushrooming expansion as they have lived next door to it. I'm greatly appreciative to staff in working with us, allaying our concerns about that. I think we're satisfied that those earlier improvements were permitted. And let me turn now to the wharf. I'm not going to stand here and say, especially to this commission, that we oppose anything that makes it better for the watermen. Our concern has been the concrete top instead of a wooden pier over that. And the general concern, the through line on all of this, is that the Cockrell Morgenthalers believe that the estuary is being overstressed by the intensity of this development there. So while they support the watermen, the Cockrells, Ms. Cockrell is the daughter of a waterman, and Mr. Cockrell, or Mr. Morgenthaler, works in the marine industry, and we're all very sensitive to that. They've asked me to come here and oppose the project for the reasons stated in my letter, and I appreciate you listening to me. I know and I want to express my appreciation to staff for addressing all of these concerns in a very forthright way. We're always very appreciative for that. But we have great respect for the commission and for your discretion, and we respectfully ask that the application be denied. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions from the commission? Any questions? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Appreciate you. Is there anyone in the audience to wish to speak on this matter at this time? All right, I guess matters before the commission.
I got a question for the attorney that just talked.
So can
You
you
had a
please
couple
come
of
up?
pictures. You had a couple of pictures in the your submittal. One that was taken in '94 and one that was taken in '23, showing the progression of what's going on. And looking at those pictures, it looks like the original piers or things have had additions out further into the water, and then there looks like there's been another pier that's on the right side or inboard side that's extended out, and then there's another one on the outboard side that's all brand new. Have all those piers and all those, have they all been done legally, come before this commission, done the permitting and done all that so that everybody's aboard board in the past?
Let me say initially, thank you very much for reviewing my letter and for taking the time to look at that figure, which I think is pretty remarkable if you compare them and see how it's been done. The answer to your question is I have not conducted a line-by-line investigation of everything that has been done, and as you know, there are probably 15 or 20 additions over the years. I am satisfied when I hear from staff that those additions were properly permitted. I'm not in a position to dispute that, but the direct answer is I don't know.
Does Randy have any information on that?
Please come forward, Randy.
Yes, as I testified earlier, Jeff Madden went up and spent the morning with Craig Palibinsky at Bayshore Design. Miles, I personally pulled the records from the permit room. Jeff went up with his pile. He met with Craig, who brought his files over for Miles. They went through them all. We have not found anything that isn't permitted, and that's to the best of our ability, where we stand right now.
Thank you, Randy. Any more questions?
I guess more or less a comment, sir. Everything that's there is legally established. They followed the rules. They have a growing business in the state of Virginia, which that's a positive thing too. And we're talking about removing wet slips to put in a pier that would be permitted by this agency. Essentially, we're going to add a pier to an existing footprint, essentially, at the end of the day.
That's got a roof on it.
That's already has a roof on it, that a new roof would be put over. More or less just a comment, just make sure I was clearly understanding the request, so.
Any more thoughts, prayers, concerns, comments? All right. That being said, matters before the commission.
I move to approve staff recommendation.
I would, since this has been going on since '93 and all these additions, and there's been no opposition to my knowledge or to the knowledge of Randy, and now all of a sudden there's opposition, I just don't see the reasoning for the opposition. So with that, I make a motion that we approve as noted.
I have a motion for Mr. Bransom to approve staff recommendation. Do you want to second it? I already have a motion from Mr. Bransom. He got it in before you second it?
I'll second.
Motion to approve staff recommendation from Mr. Bransom. Seconded. Mr. White, any further discussion? Properly made motion to accept staff recommendations by Associate Commissioner Bransom. It's been properly seconded by Associate Member White. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries 8-0. All right, Randy, I think you're back up with Urbana. Thank you all for your time. Appreciate you. Thank you, council.
Commissioner Justin my deputy did walk in with a note. We most certainly, going back to Larry Shores, we did send letters to both adjacent property owners letting them know that the request was to make the pier commercial. We'll bring it back in August, but they were notified and put on notice that the request had changed, and they did not respond. So that's how we operate. We notify everybody, and when you don't respond, we move forward. Otherwise, we'd be buried in the workload that comes at us. So we try to keep, it's like a court docket, keep the cases coming, sir. We're now going to go to Urbana. If I can get to the right hardware here. Okay. The Urbana Boatyard and Marina is requesting authorization to retain an 8-foot by 10-foot open-sided fuel dock roof, a 143 square foot enclosed ice house equipment storage shed, and to install 12 new boat lifts uncovered in an existing slips at their existing boatyard marina on 15 Watling Street and along Urbana Creek in Middlesex County. They are located on the creek in the limits of the town of Urbana. Just to their south, you'll see the Urbana Harbor Yacht Club, and just to their north, this project was just before you a couple of months ago, the Oyster Roads Dock LLC facility, a low file slip facility. I didn't attempt to mark their western reaches, but I have highlighted all the slips that they control here in yellow. They are a commercial marina. They offer long-term slip rentals, moorings and boat repair, and I'm sure everyone in this commission knows, Urbana Creek is a mix of commercial and residential properties with multiple marinas up and down that shoreline. There are three things before you today. The request to install 12 uncovered boat lifts and to retain two roofs, a small fuel dock cover and then a small storage shed that was constructed with that BMRC permits within an existing 8-slip boathouse. We'll start with the lifts. All of the the slips that would be proposed to have lifts in them are highlighted in the plan view drawings, and I've, in your inset here for the marina, as far north as these two slips here, that'd be slips with lifts here, 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 and here. The fuel dock cover is a pretty small roof. Both it and the shed were constructed without the permits. We went out there last summer based on a complaint. Here's the shed. You see it's built inside of an existing enclosed 8-slip commercial boathouse. Mr. Anderson, I went up and met with Mr. Anderson and his wife. He's been to a couple of attorneys by now. I went up and with Kirsten, we met with him in April, and he'd had 3 inspections of the shed by Middlesex County with no foul found. He now has, sir, I do have, it came in yesterday. Keep me tap dancing. This is a letter from the town of Urbana now stating that the shed is in conformance with their zoning. So, you know, when we wrote the evaluation last week, there was a lack of communication that was, you know, still occurring at that time. As the zoning administrator met with his attorney, I believe it was on Friday, and we now have a letter from Urbana sanctioning the shed. I'm going to give you a couple of different views of it. We're looking across the little slips there now. Now I'm looking southeast at the side of the shed that's beneath the larger shed boathouse. Looking at it from the rear, I'm going to show you in a minute in the area behind Mr. Anderson there. This is an old wharfed area undercover that's been in the previous owners. They repaired boats there for years, for decades. So it's kind of a work area. The wharf's probably 10 foot wide and under roof, and they built a shed beneath that roof. This is the front of the shed. Originally, it had a bed in it. They were gonna rent it out overnight. That violated the town's zoning ordinances because it was in the floodplain. They've since removed the bed, which brought it into conformance. There is a 2023 letter saying that they could have a storage shed, but they could not use it for overnight accommodation. So now that the bed's been removed and they've met, Mr. Anderson's attorney has met with the town attorney and or the zoning administrator, so now the town is on board. This is just an area looking, if you look behind the shed, it's that work area I was telling you about. You can see that it's wharfed and there's a wet slip here. And what Mr. Anderson's plans are now is he's got an ice machine in the front parking lot. He would bring it around, put it in here, get it out of the sun. He hopes to sell ice to watermen that'll work in the Rappahannock, on Public Rocks. They can pull in here, they can load ice, offload, catch. And I think it was in one of my previous pictures, I just found out this morning. So there's the shed. This facility right here, which is on the upland, is also owned by the marina. I believe as early as this Friday, it will begin operating as a restaurant. And his idea is that the patrons can see the catch brought in, ice going in and out, the catch being unloaded there. So that's the idea if you would let him keep the shed. So what you have in front of you is the request for the 12 lifts, the roof, which we have no problem with, to keep the sun off that fuel dock, as well as the small shed. Move to my summary. So like I said, since the draft of the evaluation that was mailed up to you last week, the applicant's attorney and the town zoning officer have met on site. And we received the letter I handed you a minute ago from the town indicating that the shed is now in compliance with their zoning ordinance. I'm going to skip the next two paragraphs because that was when they weren't communicating. Staff asked Mr. Anderson, when I went out there in April, why he went ahead and proceeded with the roofed area, and it was out of character because he's got 3 existing permits that began in 2017. The first one was for the replacement of the piers and slips associated with Marina Fire. The second permit in 2018 was for a bulkhead replacement, and in 2024, he did some piling replacement and reinforced an existing bulkhead within the boathouse. Mr. Anderson advised us that he contacted the town and Middlesex County about the roof over the fuel dock and the shed, and they said he didn't need to do anything, so he proceeded. After our review of the current application, we don't believe the proposed additions to the facility will result in any adverse impacts to navigation within the creek or the overall marine environment, nor do we feel it will result in any negative impacts to the adjacent commercial operations. The applicant's request to retain the storage shed within the existing enclosed 8-slip boathouse to provide ice for the catch and offloading shellfish to commercial watermen is supported by staff. Accordingly, after evaluating the merits of the project and after considering all the factors in 28.2.1205A of the Code of Virginia, we find the proposal to be a reasonable and permissible use of state-owned submerged bottom and recommend approval for the retention of the fuel dock cover, the enclosed storage shed, and the new boat lifts with a triple permit fee of $900. The commission may want to consider any appropriate supercharge for the 2 roofs should you elect to approve them. That's all I have, sir.
Thank you, Randy. Any questions from the commission? Mr. Branson?
The civil charge matrix, if you have a copy of it or a way to put it up there or something, it's kind of hard to find.
Oh, he asked good questions. I
Is
do
that,
not
where
have.
would you find that in the level of noncompliance and impact to the,
Well, it's a minor environmental because you've got a roof over, 2 roofs over existing decking. Non-compliance would be minor to moderate. That's somewhere in the $600 to $900 range. I don't have the matrix in front of me. I apologize, sir.
now, last year, I understand, you gave them a notice to comply. Was there a notice
I
to
got that
comply
number wrong.
previous?
I apologize. I didn't mean to interrupt. I'm going to need to get a copy of the matrix if you need it, sir. Go ahead, sir.
I'm sure your staff is running around right now.
I hope so.
Was there a previous notice to comply to remove the shed?
Yes, we
Last year?
did a sworn complaint notice to comply back in August of last year. The first call I got was from his attorney who was in, just to say he was not in the country, and he asked for a continuance. We gladly, wanted to work with him and we gave him the continuance. And then quite frankly, the fall hit, we got busy. With our commission docket, we wound up working with Mr. Murphy later on this year and readied it for the commission. So, in fact, Mr. Anderson called me. I was on my way home one afternoon from work, and he said, could you come up? And he was in between attorneys, and I went up with Kirsten to meet with him and find out for myself, because originally the first attorney I was supposed to meet, and that guy kind of fell off the radar. So, we were just juggling other open cases. So I'm not dissatisfied with the timing. We gladly, we have a number of things like the shedding trays that are out there. We do compliance and enforcement as time allows. We have a heavy, any given day we carry about 450 open files in Habitat. So we're always juggling cases, so we get to them when we can, sir.
I mean, this was a properly permitted covered slip, correct, previously?
Yes, and
And
the
so
marina
what the-
predates the owner.
The main issue we're dealing with is the retained short storage shed that you've highlighted in the lower right.
Yes, sir.
Is
Yes,
that
sir.
it
I
was
mean,
built at
it's-
some point and, I guess, ordered to be removed, non-compliant with Middlesex County, but now is
No,
compliant?
Let me be clear for the record. Middlesex County inspected it 3 times and approved it all 3 times.
Okay.
The town of Urbana,
Okay.
since they're within the town limits, you have kind of,
City
there's
ordinances.
shared jurisdictional boundaries between a town and a county. And Mr. Anderson's attorney might be explaining that better than I as to the mixed messages you're getting. Once the town learned that the non-conforming use, the bedroom component was removed, they had a letter from 23 saying that they could indeed have a storage shed. And when it grew a bed, it went non-conforming. And we learned as recently as yesterday that it is now in complete compliance with the town. So both localities have now endorsed it.
Thank you for that clarification.
That's a lot of endorsements.
Well, it gets confusing with county ordinances, city ordinance, or township ordinances.
Then
and
ours.
I get it. But the bottom line is that he wasn't approved to have that structure from VMRC.
The only remaining authority is yours.
Yeah. Any more questions? Thank you. Is there anyone here, an applicant or a representative for the applicant, wish to speak at this time?
Yes.
Please state your name for the record again.
My full name is Earl Stanley Murphy. I represent Urbana Boatyard and Marina, and Mr. and Mrs. Anderson, who own the marina. Thank you. I've got Mr. Anderson with me today. I'm here mostly to answer questions in light of staff presentation, but I will clarify a couple of things. First of all, this is a very old marina. It's the second time I personally have represented this marina. I was involved in the fire remediation all those years ago there. To my observation, as someone who has been in the Urbana Harbor now for 45 years, this property continues to improve. It's a real credit to the community. The Andersons have been motivated, beginning with my first conversations, they've been motivated by a desire to make this better. They are first-time business owners. Mr. Anderson, in discussing the project with me, said, well, we had this empty space. We were looking for something to do with it because it was trashy, it was not attractive. They built this building, and over time we have evolved this use to serve the watermen. There's 4 commercial watermen on the premises. The current plan is to use the building for ice storage, for offloading the catch, and to taking care of those watermen. On the regulatory issue, it goes like this. The town of Urbana has been a town since 1901. They delegate certain town operations to Middlesex County, including building inspections, but and issuance of building permits. They retain the right, they have a zoning ordinance of their own and a flood ordinance. I think, and I want to be careful how I talk about this, I am the second attorney for Mr. and Mrs. Anderson, and I will say charitably, I think there has been a lack of communication early on in the project. Since I got involved, the first thing we did was kick open the doors of communication. We reached out to the town and said, would you please explain to us these conflicting letters? You know, this one says that Mr. and Mrs. Anderson proceeded with the project exactly as the former zoning administrator said. And it took a while, but we did meet out on site last Friday. We had a lovely meeting, and they are now in favor of the project. I appreciate the cooperation of staff, which, again, my approach to these has always been one of cooperation. But I think this is probably a common way. I think this problem got started as a combination of a new business owner and a lack of communication with the town. One more thing I will say about that. There has been some transition in town government. The former zoning administrator, Mr. Keim, retired. There was a period where they had no zoning administrator, where an elected mayor wrote one of the emails you've seen. And I charitably say that was not handled in a way that was communicative with us. But since I've been involved in the project and since we have begun to approach this in a cooperative way with the town, I think we've kicked open those doors of communication. They're on board with the project. We'd ask that it be approved.
Thank you, sir. Any questions from the commission for council?
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Is there anyone else in the audience that wishes to speak on this project, for or against? All right. That That being said, matters before the commission.
Make a motion to accept staff recommendation for approval.
Got a motion to accept staff recommendation for approval from Associate Member Erskine, a second from Associate Member Bransom. Any further discussion? Accept staff recommendation?
Let me just ask a question on the recommendations. The last sentence, commission may want to consider any appropriate civil charge for the construction of roof structures should it elect to approve them. Could Randy
Just come
clear
forward.
that up for me?
I was leaving that at the discretion of the commission.
This one's kind of unique too with the town versus the county. This is different than the normal.
If I could just clarify the motion.
Yes, sir.
Based on the testimony from the applicant, I felt that there should not be a requirement for that.
Yes, so the motion was made not to impose a civil penalty, only staff recommendations due to the testimony from council.
Which is triple permit fees.
So, yeah, that's staff recommendation, triple permit fee.
And my opinion on that, Commissioner, if I might, is that this is a very small, I mean, we have minimum on impact and noncompliance, and you look at the civil charge matrix, this is really small. And so whether or not it's an issue to consider a civil penalty, I think the impact has been pretty minimal. So that's why I didn't motion to
Yeah.
bring forth a civil charge.
Totally understand it, and when, I'm very familiar with this area and the issues where, that it's had in the history, they've done a lot of work in fixing the place up, and so it's been some damage done over the years there, so definitely understand. So, that being said, we'll stick with staff recommendations with no civil penalty is the motion made by Mr. Erskine, and seconded by Mr. Bransom, but triple permit fees. Any further discussion needed? Anything else? Nothing? All right, that being said, I'm gonna carry it to a vote. Properly made motion to accept staff recommendations with triple permit fees by Mr. Erskine, seconded by Mr. Bransom. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Any abstention? Motion carries 8-0. Thank you. Thank you all. All right. Now I think it's Adam's turn. Kenyon, how are you?
What I'm handing to you now is some late public comments. They came in after the 10-day notice, but I thought it was pertinent for this commission to have them available and be able to read them.
Are these all copies of the exact same thing?
Yes, they are. They are all copies of the exact same thing. This is a public hearing for Mark Johnson for an oyster on bottom planting ground application 2021-016. The applicant is requesting authorization to lease approximately 250 acres of oyster planting grounds in the Chesapeake Bay in the city of Norfolk. As a reminder to this commission, this was an item heard at the June 24th, 2025 meeting. At that meeting, the commission voted to table the discussion until July, and that would allow time for all parties to explore potential compromise. So as this commission asked, we are bringing it back for this July commission meeting. As a reminder, this commission has the ability to act fully on the application. So just as a brief reminder, here's a proximity map. This is Willoughby Beach right there in the city of Norfolk. This is a 250-acre application. It has been advertised in accordance with 282606 of the Code of Virginia, which sends adjacent lease owners and property owners letters, as well as advertised in a newspaper, as well as town hall and available on our website. The last time you saw public comments from the City of Norfolk and the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. In addition to that, you have a public comment in front of you from the Hampton Roads Planning District, as well as 15 more public comments from private citizens. These public comments concern beach nourishment use for a U.S. Army Corps in the City of Norfolk project, as well as recreational use, resilient projects, as well as public access. Just as a reminder, it's about 430 feet from the shore and about 430 feet from the public pier. There's no SAV. There are no current leases in this area. There are no historical leases in this area. And the water ranges from about 11 feet to about 21 feet on the deep side. You saw this slide last time. This is an excerpt, a figure from the City of Norfolk and U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. This is an estimate on where those pump out lines may be, as well as those anchors. This project will go on with the most efficient. So these pump out stations, as well as these sublines, may change depending on the most efficient way to pump that to the shore. Just as a reminder, this was a 50-year project originally under the 1986 Water Resources Development Act. Nothing was done, and then in 2014, they did a reevaluation report and concurred that this was still a relevant project in the area. In 2017, they did their initial nourishment, and then in 2022, they placed more dredge material there, and then the next nourishment is planned for 2026 along the 7.3-mile stretch of the city of Virginia Beach. So that is all kind of recap from the last commission meeting, but I wanted to make sure it was on the record and it refreshed everyone's memory about kind of where we left off. So on July 16th, 2025, VMRC staff met with the applicant, Mr. Mark Johnson, to discuss alternative lease configurations. So staff presented several reduced areas from that 250 acres. You can see in front of you, there's a purple dotted line that cut it in half to about 125 acres, a smaller one that was about 100 acres, and then a smaller one at about 50 acres. The conversation, the last commission meeting, really centered around that southeastern corner because it seemed like the most out of the way of any of these potential sublines, even though those sublines will change depending on the project. So Mr. Johnson expressed that a smaller lease would be cost prohibitive for his intended operation, and he confirmed his desire during this meeting with staff to proceed with the original 250-acre request. So that original 250-acre application is what is in front of you today. The Code of Virginia 28.2-1205 allows the commission to grant or deny any permit for state-owned bottoms, taking into consideration the public and private benefits of the proposed project. Staff is, again, requesting guidance from this commission to either approve or deny this application based on consideration of the objections raised by local residents, which you have in front of you, organizations, and comments concerning support of their request in consideration of the public trust doctrine. I have spoken to the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. They indicated that they wanted to re-up on their public comments, which are available for you in front, but could not make the meeting today. I did talk to the City of Norfolk attorney. They did not submit additional public comments, but they are available here for public comment. And I did talk to Mr. Johnson, and he did not indicate yes or no whether or not he would attend this meeting. It looks like he is not here today, but he was aware of it during the meeting and aware of it as notified. I'm happy to take any questions about it.
Any questions from the commission? Mr. Branson?
Chief Kenyon, are there any current oyster leases off called the ocean front from Willoughby around through Little Creek, Cape Henry across? Are there any oyster leases? This would be the first.
No, there are no commercial oyster leases on that area, either current or historical in our database.
So this would be the first time we do something like this if the commission decided.
That's correct.
And, no, go ahead, Commissioner. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, I will be clear. This area is, that's what Commissioner Headley were talking about. This is not oceanfront, this is bayfront, but yeah, but I get it. You know, ocean view's right there, but it's still in bayfront. It's still
Let me
bayfront.
rephrase, from
Yeah.
Willoughby around to Cape Henry.
Correct.
No
No,
oyster
no,
leases.
there are no oyster ground leases in that area or
This would be a
historical.
This would be
on
the
that
first
side
one,
of the
yeah,
wall.
that's right. I don't,
And this is, I'll just comment, Commissioner, and maybe Chief Kenyon can comment, is that this is a very dynamic area with tidal action and coming out of the James River and the Elizabeth River and from down from the north, it seems odd to me to put an oyster lease here with oysters. He tends to, applicants to put cages or oysters on the bottom, shells on the bottom.
He indicated in his application that he did not plan on using oyster cages. He planned to do shells on the bottom and dredging. However, when we approve an oyster ground lease, the Code of Virginia allows you to propagate shellfish to the fullest extent. So he does have the ability to do all the above, as well as transfer this or sublease it to someone who might want to do it a different way. So all those are yes, are on the table.
Thanks for the clarification.
We've been through this before. We don't have, once you approve it, you can't restrict the use to that, what's legally allowed. You got to let them know it. So. Any more questions?
Is there, looking at that red square, what is the distance from the edge to the beach?
Give or take, the shortest distance is probably about 430 feet. It's right about there, and then the distance from that edge over to the pier is about 430 feet as well. So it varies depending on where you're standing on the shore, but somewhere around 430.
So can you pull up Moffett Nichols drawings? Can we look at those? It's drawing C301.
I'm not sure, is that in the evaluation?
Yeah.
This is the only drawing I have available for this presentation.
It's in the report that we have.
The report, everyone has that in front of you. We can look at it right now.
Can you pull it up?
You said C301. Do you know what page you're on? So I can.
8 of 8.
Forgive me, there's a lot of pages. I'm trying to scroll through it to find exactly which figure you're talking about in the evaluation.
Can't find it either.
C301. You said it's C, which one?
C, as in Charlie, 301, 8 of 8, the Moffett Nichols. It's section 5, the Tola Place location.
Is there a specific question about that one?
Well, the question I have is it, if you look at those dimensions, I don't have it in front of me. It's from looking at the sections through there, it's about 123 feet from zero to the shoreline, and that's about 150 feet on top of that to the toe of the slope, which is about 275 feet. And that's the reason I asked the question.
Hey, Patrick, it's Kim.
What's the dimension from the shore to that red to his application? In other words, is it close? How close is it to the dredge situation that's projected to be by the Corps of Engineers in the future? I don't want this to be an issue where they're dredging close to or within a certain distance of his oyster beds.
I don't know the exact distance that would be. I know the application is 430 feet
Right.
from the shore. Any depiction that you're looking at here, those are determined based on the contractor. They may move those locations of the pump out and of some of the dredge locations to be more efficient with the project. So I couldn't comment on those exact distances.
Okay. Any more questions? Thank you, Adam. Is the applicant or a representative for the applicant here wish to speak at this time? Is there anyone else in the audience that wishes to speak on this matter? Please come forward. Please raise your right hand. You swear to tell the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Please state your name for the record.
My name is Rusty West. I come here today, I'm wearing two hats. I'm the president of the Willoughby Civic League. We have about 130 members, and as a private citizen also. And the Civic League does oppose this. But personally, I have about 3 years' experience volunteering with the Chesapeake Bay Foundation Oyster Restoration Team. And we work building reefs in various areas in Tidewater. So I'm bringing that experience to these comments. I'm also a past member of the Tidewater Oyster Growers Association. I've been working with commercial oyster companies. They gave me cages and things, and I went over and I helped them a little bit. Part of the reason that we're opposed to this oyster reef is that the tidal flow, and it was mentioned, all the water that has to go to raise and lower the tide levels of Mill Creek, Hampton River, James River, up to Hopewell, Nansemond River, Pagan River, Elizabeth River, Lafayette River, and Willoughby Bay pass by this stretch. There's a lot of current going through this area. I've been out there, and if you walk out about chest deep when the tide is flowing, you have a hard time standing. I mean, it rips through there pretty good. This creates a lot of current, and that current is going to spread the shells from the reef up and down the beaches of Ocean View and Willoughby. And Willoughby is part of Ocean View, so you'll hear me talk about Ocean View. It's all kind of the same for my purposes. I would give you the analogy of what this reef is going to be with this pile of shells. If you took a pile of notebook paper and you put it on the side of the road, when the wind blows this way, the pages are going to be, littered down the road. And when the wind blows the other way, they're going to be littered that way. That's the way these pile of shells for this oyster reef are going to be. With the tide current going in and out, it's going to litter shells up and down the beach. The wave action, because this is an area with a lot of wave action, you don't see oyster reefs built along the beaches of Virginia Beach, Fort Monroe, Buck Road, Grandview, and Ocean View. And there's a reason, because there's too much wave action in this open area. And again, that's going to spread a lot of the shells because there's going to have a turbulence that goes down to where this is. And just like it spreads tons of sand up and down the beach, it's going to spread shells all over the place. If you've ever handled an oyster, you know that that round edge on the end is extremely sharp. It's razor sharp. And for people out there walking in the water, tourists, kids, and whatever, that's going to be a really dangerous issue. So I want you to please consider that. If we look at where commercial oyster farms are located, they're located on the protected western side of the eastern shore, the banks of the York River, Ware River, Rappahannock River, and the maps will show you that there are many oyster leases for bottom ground because it is a protected river with rivers with healthy water. Now, speaking of healthy water, the beaches of Ocean View on either side of the applicant's proposed lease grounds are occasionally closed during the summer with warnings from the Virginia Department of Health. This is because all along Ocean View beaches there are outflow storm sewer pipes. The storm sewer water drains from all over Ocean View and empties into the bay. Along with that, we have various forms of pollution and things that run off into the bay. Virginia Department of Health monitors these waters and does the notices of contamination, so that happens several times during the summer. Oysters are filter feeders, and because the meat of the oyster is going to absorb some of this pollution, that's the oyster that this applicant wants to sell to consumers. So keep that in mind, please. This isn't the case in places like the York River, Ware River, and Eastern Shore where oysters are grown commercially. These are not urban areas with storm drain outfall like Ocean View. Oysters are doing a good job of improving the water and the quality of the Chesapeake Bay. It is the oyster reefs that have been created in the local rivers, not the bay. These oysters are on reefs in the Hampton River, Elizabeth River, Lafayette River, York River, Rappahannock River, and the Lynn Haven River. And working with the Chesapeake Bay Foundation, I've worked with many of those.
Sir, can you wrap it up? I've given you
Okay.
more than I normally do.
All right, real quick. We would ask that you consider, and I don't know if it's within the commission, that you consider a fee that if the applicant doesn't clean up this oyster reef, if it fails, and he doesn't clean it up, he doesn't walk away, he has some sort of a bond, and I would recommend probably at least $1,000 for every acre of it. So, somebody's got to clean it up if it doesn't work. Otherwise, we're going to have decades of oyster shells going up and down the beach. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any questions for the speaker? Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you.
I hadn't heard a surety bond in a while. That one, believe you me, we're familiar with them. Is there anyone else? Please come forward, ma'am. Please state your name for the record.
Lisa Barnes.
Are you attorney?
No, sir, I'm the Chief of Staff for Senator Graves.
You swear to tell the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Proceed.
Again, I am here to represent the testimony of Senator Angela Williams Graves, Senate District 21, in her absence. So Chairman and members of the commission, thank you for the opportunity to address this critical matter. Again, I am Lisa Barnes, Chief of Staff for Senator Angela Williams Graves, representing the 21st Senatorial District, which is essentially the city of Norfolk. I want to begin by acknowledging the vitally important work of the VMRC in safeguarding Virginia's marine resources while balancing environmental stewardship with the needs and concerns of our communities. I appreciate your continued commitment to thoughtful and responsible oversight of the Commonwealth's coastal assets. I rise today in strong opposition to application number 2021-016 submitted by Mr. Mark A. Johnson, which seeks approval for a 250-acre oyster planting ground lease along Norfolk's Chesapeake Bay shoreline near the Ocean View Pier. While I fully recognize the ecological value of oyster reef restoration in appropriate locations, this particular lease presents an unacceptable conflict with Norfolk's public interest, shoreline resilience strategies, and legal exposure. Norfolk is one of the most flood-prone cities in the United States, facing severe threats from sea level rise, recurrent coastal flooding, and intensified storm surge. To protect lives, infrastructure, and property, the city relies heavily on beach nourishment and shoreline protection projects as essential components of our long-term coastal resiliency strategy. As of November 2024, Norfolk requires approximately 603,000 cubic yards of sand to restore its beaches to prior conditions, work that is both urgent and resource intensive. In the past 2 years alone, the city has invested over $1.68 million in these critical efforts. The proposed oyster lease would significantly obstruct Norfolk's ability to carry out this work, both physically and legally. Unlike federal agencies such as the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, Norfolk does not have the authority to mandate hold harmless agreements from private leaseholders. This leaves the city legally vulnerable to claims that could delay or halt vital shoreline management projects. Simply put, the risks to the public safety and infrastructure posed by this lease are not hypothetical, they are real, they are immediate, and they are costly. Equally troubling is the precedent this application would set. There are currently no oyster leases along Norfolk's Chesapeake Bay shoreline, nor is there any historical precedent for one. Approving this lease would open the door for future applications that could compound these harms. The applicant has stated that they are unwilling to reduce the proposed lease size, further underscoring the potential scope of the disruption. Unless state law is amended to explicitly limit the legal claims of leaseholders, particularly regarding shoreline protection projects, Norfolk will continue to face unjustified legal exposure simply for trying to protect its citizens and infrastructure. Beyond legal and environmental risks, this lease threatens the public's rightful access to one of Norfolk's most valued recreational areas. At the Commission's June 24th meeting, the matter was rightly deferred due to a lack of consensus. However, there remains a sense that the business objectives of the applicant have been weighed more heavily than the legitimate and pressing concerns of the city and its residents. I urge this commission to give Norfolk's voice and the voices of our constituents the full and fair consideration they deserve. Any adversity arising from this project, whether legal challenges, project delays, or increased liability, will ultimately result in a financial burden borne by Norfolk's residents and taxpayers. These are not abstract costs, they are real obligations that will be shouldered by the very community already investing heavily in coastal resilience. In conclusion, while I support oyster reef restoration as a concept and recognize its benefits in appropriate settings, Norfolk's unique vulnerabilities and its clear need for unfettered shoreline access and protection must take precedence. The proposed lease would inflict significant harm to our city's ability to carry out its resilience agenda, exposing it to costly litigation, impairing public access to cherished community space. I respectfully urge the Commission to deny application 2021-016. Doing so would uphold the public good, preserve Norfolk shoreline, and honor Virginia's constitutional responsibility to protect our lands and waters for the enjoyment and safety of all. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Any questions from the commission? Commission? One thing I would like to, please send my regards to the senator. I hope she's doing well. I will say this commission did not weigh more heavily, in my opinion, towards the lease applicant. I believe the motion was made to see if an agreement could be made by every party involved by the commission. That's why it was deferred. I mean, obviously there wasn't an agreement, but they just kicked the can down and said, oh, wait a minute, see if y'all can come up to an agreement, everybody, and it obviously didn't come to that. But it was not weighed heavily to one side or the other. And oftentimes we see that. We postpone things in hopes that everyone can come to some agreement, but we often know how humans are nowadays. It just there's no give or take sometimes. And in some issues, we understand. So, but please give our regards to the good senator, and we appreciate your time. Thank you so much. Is there anyone else that wishes to speak at this time? I knew you were coming, ma'am. I knew you were coming. Please state your name for the record, please.
Yes, sir. My name is Margaret Kelly. I'm an assistant city attorney for the city of Norfolk. I don't think I could say it better than Senator Cruz did. It was fantastic.
She did great.
I'd like her to write all of my briefs from now on. So I will just give a little bit more specific detail for this commission about why the city is concerned. Because you've heard my concerns last time, you have my written objection, and you've heard from the senator and from the Civic League president, who did a fantastic job as well. I have a copy for the commission, and I believe I have enough for everyone, of the city's permit for beach renourishment. This is from the it's actually the one that was previously displayed. This is the City VPA Ocean View Beach Renourishment Project. This was done in 2022. The actual application is in your briefing packet. It shows the it shows that this lease is actually right in the middle of one of the areas that we had to work on and we had to do. And what I would draw the commission's attention to is condition 10. These permits are for the bee tree nourishment that is issued by the VMRC. It is my understanding this is sort of a form permit, so the conditions don't change. And condition 10 says this permit is subject to any lease of oyster planting ground in effect on the date of the permit. Nothing in this permit shall be construed as allowing the permittee to encroach on any lease without the consent of the leaseholder. The permittee shall be liable for any damages to such lease. So the city's concern is real. On one hand, we have the VMRC who is considering this lease, and on the other hand, we have the VMRC that is telling us you can't do your bee tree nourishment if it is going to impact this lease area. The city has, I will say the distinction, maybe not honor, but in the 2024 VIM Sea Level Report Card, we are 4th in the nation for sea level rise. We are 1st in Virginia, not the time I'm happiest to be 1st in the state for something, but we are. So our sea level rise concerns are different than other localities. We do need these bee tree nourishment projects. It's good for recreation, but it also is the best line of defense that we have to protect our residents' property, businesses, our infrastructure like our roads that our emergency vehicles need to use, our utilities that are provided to our citizens. We need all of this protected, and the beach is the best way to do it. So by opening up this kind of lease to the area, it's going to essentially barricade us in and trap us and put us at the mercy, essentially, of all of these leaseholders who are going to come out of the woodwork if this lease is approved. So we would specifically ask that this lease be denied for all the reasons previously stated, but we thank you very much for your time and consideration.
Thank you. Is there any questions for council? Thank you, ma'am. Appreciate you. Is there anyone else in the audience who wishes to speak on this? You were the first attorney in a while to keep it under 3 minutes. I appreciate that. So I really do. Thank you so much. Is there any concerns, questions, discussion? Commission? That being said, matters before the commission. Mr. Erskine?
I don't know that I have a specific question, but maybe a quick comment. Clearly, we discussed this at length last meeting, and I was very hopeful that by postponing it to this month meeting, we would have some kind of compromise that would have come out from the parties that were interested, and unfortunately, that didn't happen. I'm not going to sit up here and tell somebody that's interested in growing shellfish where they should do that or how they should do that. That's certainly on the individual applying for that lease. I'm not familiar with growing oysters in this area or any shellfish for that matter. It does look like a dynamic area. I understand the opposition. I think I'm a firm believer that there are some areas that are appropriate for growing shellfish, and there may be some areas in the Commonwealth that are not. And this may be one of them. I do have concerns over the opposition in this area. So I'll leave it at that. There's not a motion at this time.
Thank you. Any other? Mr. White?
Yes, in the things we have, in the summary, in the back page of the summary that we all have, it said the Code of Virginia allows the commission to grant or deny any permit for the use of state-owned bottomlands, taking into consideration the public and private benefits. I've been here, this is the second meeting we've talked about this. And all the comments I've heard, both in June's meeting and today, have been no benefits. They're all against it. This application only benefits one person, the applicant. It benefits nobody else. It benefits not the city of Norfolk, the Corps of Engineers who's trying to do replenishment. It benefits nobody except one person. And for us to consider benefits of one person over the whole community, and there's 450 people plus or minus that live up and down that shoreline, when I was 17, 18, I was a lifeguard on that very beach. And I remember going out and getting people, because the water is basically shallow. It's not like Virginia Beach, where it's deep, and people don't go out deep. People go out deep at Ocean View and Willoughby because the water is shallow. And 400 feet might not be enough that they're walking on oyster beds. So I would make a motion that we deny this.
Got a motion to deny the lease application.
Second.
From Mr. Wayne. Got a second from Mr. Hand. However, Mr. Branson has something to add.
Yes, I wanted to say that there's probably a reason why there aren't any previous leases along this bay coastline to Cape Henry. Certainly off of Fort Story, I understand that, with military restrictions and such. But there's probably a reason, and knowing these waters very well, dynamic tidal action, the fetch, I just looked at my navigation charts, is in excess of 30 nautical miles to the northeast. It's almost 50 nautical miles in actuality. That would blow directly onto that beach. The boating usage, yeah, there's a lot of recreational activity there, but this is a permit to put oysters on the bottom, so it's not that much of an impact. But there's a reason why. And then I read all the letters, the opposition from the citizens, as well as the senator's well-written letter, but also the Army Corps of Engineers, the City of Norfolk, the Hampton Roads Planning District Commission, who have their own engineers and that say this is a bad idea. I think the public benefit is in the beach replenishment more so than this oyster lease, although I'm very supportive of oyster propagation and growing. I think in this location it's a bad idea. That's why I would have seconded it, but I'll vote against it. So.
Thank you. Any more conversation?
I have a comment, or at least a question, that by permitting the lease, would it prohibit any kind of beach restoration, Chief? I guess I just want to clarify, we're pointing the finger saying that there would not be, the concern is over beach, and rightfully so. If I was a resident in one of those homes, I would want to see the beach be restored and save my ground that I live on, but in what way would this prohibit any beach restoration?
That is a difficult question to answer. So by granting the assigned bottom, that applicant has a right to work that bottom. Yes. You also heard an excerpt from the joint permit application that required any projects to go through there for the lease owner to sign off on or be compensated for anything that goes through there. You've also heard from the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers under their 408 that they would need legal representation and opinion on whether or not this is legal for them.
And those in those cases, though, it would still come forth, regardless of the leaseholder's permission, or at least sign it. He could oppose those potential restoration efforts, but those restoration efforts will still come across the board, would they not? For approval?
Those restoration efforts have already been approved in a joint permit application by this board.
Got it.
As the city attorney gave you that permit, those have already been approved for them to do that project. So assigning this would be counter of those two that would have to live together.
Okay, to make sure I just have a clear understanding, and anyone else in the room that may be questioned. So by granting the permit would negate that previously approved restoration?
No.
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 The restoration's already on the books to happen, regardless of what the leaser has to say about it.
I would like counsel to interject. I think Adam is not quite up to speed on that.
So the issue isn't that it would negate a permit. The issue is 28.2618. 28.2618 guarantees any leaseholder the absolute right to continue to use and occupy the ground for the term of the lease, including the right to propagate shellfish by whatever legal means necessary. This is a real property interest. The reason that there's a condition in the permit is because of the statute. So what this means is that if that beach renourishment interferes with that absolute right, then Norfolk is interfering with a property right of a private citizen, and it exposes them to legal liability and potential extra cost that might make it prohibitive for them to even attempt it. That's the issue here. It's not the permit.
And I think I would like to add a little bit of commentary to that, from my perspective. Even if the drudge operation itself doesn't affect the ground, and the storm comes and pulls that sand on the ground from the beach, then the city still has an issue with the real property owner, which is the leaseholder. Leaseholder would have arguably a take claim.
Okay.
Arguably.
Chief Kenyon, do we know why Mr. Johnson isn't here today? Has he contacted anybody?
No, he has not. I have sent him the same notice I've sent to the Army Corps of Engineers as well as the city of Norfolk, so he is aware of that meeting. I also told him at the meeting we had on the 16th that this would be heard in July, and he understood that. He has not contacted me on whether he would or would not appear with no reason.
Yeah, that's the only thing that I don't agree with, knowing that as much discussion that was held last month over this project and for the size of it, 250 acres in this place that he hasn't showed back up for this meeting too. So, thank you.
Any more questions? Or any more comment, I should say? We have a motion made to deny from Associate Member White and a second by Associate Member Hand. I want to make sure, and that's one thing I want to make sure that gets back to the senator and everybody in Norfolk, is that we didn't, and I think Associate Member White said it in his statement, we chewed this up quite a bit last time. And I totally understand his sentiments of why are we, he's basically saying, why are we chewing this up again? Let's just vote it down. I get it, and I totally understand. But when they left, we left on, okay, is there a compromise, or is there something, that some kind of agreement they come to? Well, now we don't have the other side here, and obviously there was no altercation in the application, no agreement, no anything. So I just wanted to add that, because the commission did act in good faith that the applicant would try to come up with an agreement. So,
Does anybody know how many other oyster beds this applicant has?
I'm not sure that's too relevant.
I mean, if he has none, to me, that's a red flag.
Yeah, I don't know that that's a relevant matter for us, but all right, so any more discussion before I carry it to a vote? Or any other motions made or anything like that? That's part, when I ask for discussions, if there's a motion made, that includes, is there any other motion to be made? All right, so we have a motion to deny from Associate Member White, properly made, and a properly made second by Mr. Hand. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say nay. Any abstention? Motion carries to deny the application 8-0. And ma'am, I think you would please let the senator know, see, it wasn't weighed heavily, and it was an 8-0 vote, and we appreciate her participation, and I will see her soon. You guys have a safe trip. Thank you. All right, that being said, we have public comment up now. Anyone in the audience that wishes to speak on an item that is not on the agenda, please come forward at this time. That is not on the agenda.
The shrimp fishery, is that on the agenda later down the line?
Yes.
I don't see it on the written agenda.
It is on, I guess, yeah, it's on agenda number 10.
Okay. I just see public hearing on that, number 10.
That means it's on the agenda, public hearing.
Okay, very well.
All right, anyone else? All right, that being said, Chief Gear, you got the floor.
Morning, everybody.
Good morning. There's a little bit of it left. Sharks. First time?
Okay, the first hearing we have today is on, it's a commission proposal to amend Chapter 4 VAC 2490 pertaining to sharks to clarify language regarding the prohibition of overnight soaks for Virginia spiny dogfish permit holders using gillnet mesh size equal to or greater than 5.25 inches and less than 10 inches in the Delaware and Maryland Atlantic sturgeon bycatch area and the Virginia Atlantic sturgeon bycatch area between 8 p.m. and 5 a.m. on the following day between November 1 through March 31st. Jill Ramsey and Catherine Wilhelm helped put this together, and if you recall back in April, we initially approved these changes. They were required by NOAA and ASMSC to reduce sturgeon bycatch. However, when we submitted our implementation plan to ASMSC and NOAA, and we had to do that by May 1st, they had some concerns with the language in the regulation, so they weren't going to approve our implementation plan. So to get our implementation plan approved, we had to clarify that language to avoid any compliance issues. And just to, there we go. Just to remind you, these are areas that were created because of sturgeon bycatch to reduce them. There's a Delaware, Maryland area along here, and there's one down in Virginia as well. Those are the two areas, and they were developed because of they were hot spots for sturgeon, so that's why they were created initially. And it's a real simple change to the regulation. It's in section 42, subsection H. All we're doing is replacing the words fishing for spiny dogfish with the word possessing. So I'll read that. Subsection H will read as, it shall be unlawful for any person possessing a Virginia spiny dogfish permit to leave any gillnet gear with a mesh size equal to or greater than 5.25 inches and less than 10 inches in the Delaware and Maryland Atlantic sturgeon bycatch reduction area or the Virginia Atlantic sturgeon bycatch reduction area between 8 p.m. and 5 a.m. the following day from November 1 through March 31st. By putting that language, ASMSC and NOAA we're happy with that. We'll resubmit our implementation plan and we'll remain in compliance. So I have to read this one more time. So the staff recommendation is staff recommends the commission approve amendments to Chapter 4 VAC 2490 pertaining to sharks to prohibit the overnight soaks for Virginia spiny dogfish permit holders on gill nets with a mesh size equal to or greater than 5.25 inches and less than 10 inches from November 1 through March 31st in the Pacific areas of the Virginia coastal waters. And I'll take any questions anybody might have.
Mr. Hadley?
Thank you, Chief Gear. Could you go back to the map of the two different areas? That one. So the area pretty much the whole below Chincoteague all the way down to like Cape Charles Light, they could still use above 5 1/4 inch net in that area.
Right, it's just these areas, the areas that are shaded, are the areas that you have to abide by that overnight if you're using those size meshes during that time period.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Any more questions? All right, is there anyone in the audience that wishes to speak on this matter? All right, I want to ask the second time today. Matters before the commission.
Motion to accept staff recommendation.
Second.
Got a motion to accept staff recommendation from Associate Member Headley. Got a second from Associate Member Erskine. Any further discussion? That being said, I have a properly made motion by Associate Member Headley to accept staff recommendations, and properly seconded by Associate Member Erskine. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. All those opposed, nay. Any abstentions? Motion carries 8-0. Thank you. All right, item 10, Pat, you're up again.
Okay, this is gonna take a little bit longer, so get comfortable. Okay, this is a public hearing for proposed amendment, Chapter VAC 20-1390-10 pertaining to shrimp to 1, expand the number of limited entry shrimp trawl licenses, 2, to establish an eastern shore trawl harvest area, 3, extend the start of the season into September, and 4, modify maximum dimensions of the shrimp trawl gear, and finally 5, amend methods for reporting bycatch. We had a number of people help with this. Chris Davis, who's on our Observer program, heads that. Shakira Gaiv and Danielle Rico, who was she's in the room today. That's in the room, with a few people left in the room today. She's our Commonwealth of Virginia Engineering and Science, which is COVE's Policy Fellow. So she's been working on a number of things for us this summer. I want to give you some background on our shrimp in the Chesapeake Bay. What we're talking about is Penaeid shrimp, which means groove shrimp for the most part. They're not uncommon in the Chesapeake Bay. They've been documented for years. VIMS documented shrimp in their surveys as early as the 1970s, and in the early 1990s they started processing them with numbers and weights and size as they do with other species in the early 1990s. Abundance was often high enough that at that time that there was interest in supporting a commercial fishery. In 2017, a fisherman off Virginia Beach started seeing large numbers in his gill nets, and VMRC issued him an experimental fishing permit, or an ERP was issued. Let you know that shrimp abundance is highly variable from year to year, not just here, but also in the Gulf and the South Atlantic, and it's strongly influenced by environmental factors such as wind, current, water temperature, and salinity. And we saw that in our commercial fisheries in 2017, but as I mentioned, this is the VIMS trawl survey, the juvenile trawl survey, which has been sampling the bay and the rivers in this manner since 1988. They do about 105 stations a month. They sample from the bay mouth all the way up to the freshwater interface. These two little blips here, where's my, I guess I gotta do it again. Here we go. These two, I was working at VIMS in 95 and 2019 when they had those two little blips, and people got real excited about that. They're like, wow, and there was a Sea Grant proposal to go look at, how can we harvest these things, but then they'd go 4 or 5 years without seeing them again. But you can see what's happened over time. We've seen a marked increase in the abundance from that survey. The NEMAP project from VIMS, and this is for white shrimp, which is done along the coastal waters from Cape Canaveral up to Cape Cod, that's what shows on the map, has seen an 8-fold increase in white shrimp abundance since 2014. So, and this is in coastal waters where they're seeing them. So we're verifying that. We're verifying what the fishermen were seeing in 2017. So we issued that one permit. And what we did initially, that gentleman was kind of interesting. He took 2 old crab dredges, bolted them together, and put a 16-foot net on them and dragged that way. Was mildly successful, did a lot of work. The next year, he was very innovative. He came up with what we call a beam trawl. It's a lightweight aluminum frame, which is the same size. It's 16 feet wide, 4 feet high, and that's a picture of it right up here. And that's what we've been using now. And it's the mesh on the net is between 1.5 and 2 inches stretch mesh. We do require a NOAA or North Carolina approved biological reduction device, which is right here. They're called birds. And they sit in the net, something like that is how they look. And they kind of create an eddy in the net. So the fish is kind of like a dead space in the water, also sort of like a rock in a stream for a trout. And then the fish can just escape the net that way. So it's a way for fish to get out of the net. We're restricting the tow time to 30 minutes, and that's for protected resources, because if you go over 30 minutes, they require you to have a turtle excluder device. And it would be very difficult to put a turtle excluder device in a 16-foot net. To put things in perspective, the typical configuration for the southeast fishery, when I say southeast, I'm talking about the southeast and also the Gulf, is 2 to 4 nets, trawl nets, with a total net width of 220 feet. Those fisheries also tow what's called a tri-net, which is a small 12 to 16-foot net that it's really difficult to bring those nets up to see what's in it. So they put the tri-net down for 30 minutes and they pull it up, and if it's half full, they say, okay, we can keep towing. So they use the tri-net as a barometer of how much shrimp they're catching, and then they know when to haul up all 4 nets. This is the size of our net. This is what we're using in our state waters, compared to what's being used in North Carolina to the south of us, 200 feet. So very small. It's a very small gear. I think that's really helping us because the limited tow times are helping. We're seeing our bycatch numbers are fantastic compared to other areas, so I think it's been very helpful in that regard. And I have the height on there in red because that's one of the items we're considering changing. And this just shows the map of the areas. This is what we're calling the Eastern Shore Shrimp Trawl Harvest Area, and that has changed a little bit over time. We just extended it down to Cape Charles Light last year, and this is the Virginia Beach area. And just to give you some highlights, the Virginia Beach area has been regulated since 2021, and I'll get into that in a second. Because of limited information we've had, the Eastern Shore has still remained as an under an experimental fishing permit. We don't allow it in the bay at all, but paragraph 28.2-315 of the Code of Virginia had season and area restrictions for trawling in coastal waters, which were antiquated because that fishery no longer exists in our state. And so, as a result, on the Eastern Shore, they couldn't start fishing until November 1. Down in Virginia Beach, it was October 1 above latitude 3640, and below that, it could be year-round. So the Eastern Shore is having a hard time because pretty much the shrimp are already gone before the season could start. So we tried time and time again to get this done, but this past year, House Bill 1697 and Senate Bill 933 created an exemption not only for the trawl fishery, but also for our horseshoe trawl fisheries off of Chincoteague on the Eastern Shore. So, and just to give you an idea of the sizes, the Virginia Beach area is about 109 square miles, and the Eastern Shore is about, almost three times that, at about 277 square miles. Okay. To give you an idea of what we did, I want to show you, this is kind of a timeline. It's a pretty busy graph, but I could show you. We started off with one permit in Virginia Beach. So light blue is a Virginia Beach experimental fishing permit. Seemed like it worked, so we issued 2 permits the next year. It's still experimental. In 2019, we issued 6 permits for Virginia Beach, and we had 2 permits on the Eastern Shore, so for a total of 8. In 2020, we had 8 permits in Virginia Beach, and we had 4 on the Eastern Shore, which is the yellow part, for a total of 12. And we were so successful by 2020 on this fishery that we decided that we were going to regulate this fishery. So we started regulating Virginia Beach, where we had a limited entry of 12 licenses. You can see that now it's in blue. Those are the Virginia Beach licenses. For the last 4 years, it's been stable. But because of the limited information we had on Eastern Shore, it has remained an experimental fishery since then. And you can kind of see we had four experimental fishing permits on Eastern Shore in 2021. We had 9 in 22, we had 8 in 23, and we had 11 this past year. This proposal that's been put forth is to basically do away with experimental permits and allow those folks that have had a permit in any one of the years 2022, 2023, or 2024 to be able to get a license. So it would be one single license, and this proposal would be a total of up to 26 licenses. Since we've started this back in, I guess, 2017, 2018, we've had requirements on this. We've monitored this very closely. This has been a very well monitored and observed fishery. The fishermen, of course, even though it was an experimental fishery, they still had to provide the daily trip tickets to our mandatory harvest and reporting program. That's a requirement for every fishery, even if it's experimental. We had VMRC observers on the boats collecting detailed information on shrimp and species-specific bycatch from each drag, so we know what's being caught as far as bycatch, and taking details on each event. We have lat longs, tow distance, depth, water quality as well. But we also had what we call call-in reports. At the end of each trip, the fishermen had to call staff and either leave a message or leave a text message saying how many pounds of shrimp they caught and an estimate of their bycatch. So, we have the observer data, but we can't be on a boat all the time because we only had 2 staff. Some years so we were short staffed, so we only have 2 staff to do that. So by having this call-ins, we'll be getting bycatch information every day. And this is basically just showing, off on the right is a heat map showing the density of where they were fishing. I'll start off with the table over here. The call-in trips, how many trips we had. You can see the Virginia Beach, how it's steadily increased. In 2020, it was 401 trips. That was when we had a very successful year. It varies a little bit, but we've had good success with this fishery in the Virginia Beach area, all along. Eastern Shore has not been the case. We've had limited trips. That's one of the reasons why we've been issuing more permits, thinking more people will be involved. So very limited information on that, and that's why it's remained experimental till today. The observer data, which is coming just from Virginia Beach, is this information over here. The 402 observations, hauls that we've done come from 55 different trips. And you can see how the distribution, this is the hot map where the red is where the bulk of the activity occurred. This is just from our observer data, but there's no reason to believe our observer data is much different than what the fishermen are doing. And Rudy Inlet is where most of those boats tie up, and I believe it's right there.
Yeah.
Right there. So for the most part, they're fishing from about Rudy Inlet down to about Sandbridge. And if you look at this, this is showing that same thing, but it's just showing each individual net set, each trawl that we observed when we were on the boat. And this shows the total area in here. So this area in here, the total area for the Virginia Beach area is 109 square miles. And we're really only sampling in about 32% of that area right now. If you look at the average distance for a tow, and you multiply that by the size of the net, and you take an average of that, we're only covering about 5% of the ground per year right now. So that just gives you an idea, because it is a small net. They're not covering a lot of ground, but it gives you an idea what we're covering. On an annual basis, you can kind of see where, this is just showing the bars are the harvest for each year. The numbers above that are the number of trips, and there's the values in harvest over here. And on the right side is the catch per trip, and that's the red line as well. You can see we had very little, and in 2020 it just took off. That was when it was experimental, and then in 2021 we said it's time to start regulating this in Virginia Beach. And when we did that, we added those 4 more licenses and had 103 applications for it. And the regulation does that through a lottery system. So very interesting trying to explain to someone why they didn't get a license when, it's a lottery. So, but gives you an idea that the variability from year to year, shrimp are going to change. You're going to see different abundance from year to year. On a monthly basis, this is showing the same thing. It's showing catch per trip, and the number of trips that went into that. So most of our effort is occurring, we do have, most of our effort occurs in November. And you can see it's almost as high as 800 pounds per trip. The average is about 648 pounds per trip overall. Our largest trip, interestingly, occurred last year. A gentleman caught over 7,000 pounds in one day with a 16-foot net. That is a tremendous amount of shrimp. The large fleet doesn't catch those kind of numbers in a day in the South. That's a very high number. So, but you can kind of see on a monthly basis where our effort is occurring and how the abundance is. Now we're going to move on to the regulation, and this is kind of the dry part, so just bear with me. We're adding a definition for the Eastern Shore shrimp trawl area, and it will mean that all the time, I'm not going to read this whole thing, I'm just going to say that it means all the tidal waters of the Atlantic Ocean, excluding all inlets, creeks, bays, and sounds that are bound by the Cape Charles Light, eastward to the 3 nautical mile line, northward to the Maryland line, and then back to shore. So these numbers, we noticed that there were some mistakes in our numbers. We transferred the wrong numbers when we put in the regulation. So the ones in the regulation that you have are incorrect. These were corrected, and we will make sure that when we're done, so they get into the final copy. So we're changing the fishing year, which is also in section 20 in definitions on page 2. All we're doing is we're extending the season from October 1. We're making it a little bit longer to September 15th. That will benefit primarily people on Eastern Shore. Section 50 is where the bulk of the changes are occurring. In subsection A, we're just changing the number of commercial shrimp trawl licenses in a given fishing year, and I didn't define it. A fishing year is pretty much going to be September 1 through January 31st, and it's going to be from 12 to 26 licenses. This is a little confusing. This is subsection B, 50B on page 4. We basically deleted this whole section. This dealt with entry requirements, and it's like you have to have a commercial fishing registration license, but you also were required to have, once you had that license, you were required to catch 500 pounds of shrimp every other year to maintain that license. So it is a use or lose license, and we wanted that because when we developed this, we want people to participate in this fishery. A lot of folks wanted this license. People were telling me they were going to get it and hold on to it for like investment. So when the fishery takes off, it would be worth more. So we want people to use the license. So we rewrote this whole section on here, and it's shown This is the new section as it's written. So we just have subsection B, which is an individual shall be eligible for a commercial shrimp trawl license if they possess a valid commercial fishing registration license and meets either the following criterion. Criterion 1 is the one that was already in there, which is the individual shall have possessed a commercial shrimp trawl license or import harvest of at least 500 pounds by shrimp trawl gear to the Marine Resources Commission's mandatory harvest reporting program in at least one of the previous 2 years. And 2 is the new section, which allows those people with the experimental fishing permits on Eastern Shore to be eligible. And it says shall have possess an experimental fishing permit for shrimp trawling in the years 2022, 2023, or 2024, any one of those years. Section 8 is, Section 50H is basically how we were requiring the report. I said before that they were required to call in and provide us information on their catch and bycatch. So instead of having them call in, we're telling them, okay, we want you to report your bycatch on your trip tickets. So on a daily basis. So they don't have to go 2 places when they do their reports. They can put their bycatch right on their trip tickets, and we're going to give them an easy way to do that. And then we took the second part of that is the interactions with marine species. We moved that to subsection I, which is each commercial shrimp trawl licensee shall report to the Marine Resources Commission fisheries management staff interactions with any protected or endangered species within a 24-hour of each trip. And that is a requirement of NOAA for protected resources. Section 60 is the shrimp trawl gear restrictions. That's page 5 and 6 on your regulation. Real simple change. We're just changing the height of the beam trawl from 4 to 5 feet. This was a request of the industry because primarily what they catch is white shrimp, and they're known to be, they can go higher in the water column. So if you have a higher net, you have a more, you're increasing your chances of catching them. And finally, in section 70, which is commercial shrimp trawl harvest limit seasons and areas, specifically the areas, page 6, what we're doing on here is we're adding the Eastern Shore shrimp trawl harvest area. Our public comment period ended 11:59 p.m. on July 17th. We only had 2 comments. We had 1 comment, and it was against. It was from one of the Virginia Beach license holders, and he said that he felt that the number they have down there is 12, and if they add as many as 14, it would bring all kinds of problems, is what was stated in that. A few of the licensees and the permittees are in the room, so I'm sure they're going to have input as well. So we'll get to that in a minute. So the items for you to consider today are an increase of commercial shrimp trawl licenses from 12 to up to 26. Define the Eastern Shore shrimp trawl harvest area, which will allow licensees to fish both areas, how we're defining it, and it will eliminate all experimental fishing permits. Extend the season to start September 15th, so we'll go from September 15th to January 31st. Increase the height of the beam trawl to a 5-foot maximum, and eliminate the daily call-in requirements for shrimp and bycatch. They'll just do that on their mandatory harvest trip tickets. So I can take any questions at this time, and we'll go from there.
Randy, the first one, you've gone from 12 to 26. Where'd the 26 come from? And second part of this question is, if you have a license to fish in Virginia Beach and the Eastern Shore, does that count as 2 or 1?
No. What we're planning to do here, I'll answer the first part. I should be more clear on that. The 14 is how many people on the Eastern Shore who had a experimental fishing permit on Eastern Shore between 2022 and 2024. That was a total of 14. So those are the people that are eligible for a license, a new license. The 12 that at Virginia Beach already had a license. And to make it more, our thought on this was to have just a single license. It would just be a commercial shrimp trawl license. You can fish on Eastern Shore, you can fish in Virginia Beach. So that's where the increase came from.
You're streamlining it from, you got a shrimp area, and you got a shrimp license. I got it. Just streamline.
Yes.
I just want to confirm, I believe you said this, but the timing for the Eastern Shore and Virginia Beach would be the same.
Yes.
Okay.
We're trying to make this as consistent as possible. Now, Virginia Beach, really, the season in the past has started October 1st. Historically, they really don't start going until the end of October and into November.
So a license is one boat.
License is one, it's a person on one boat, yes.
Mr. Branch, I'm sorry, I didn't see you.
Chief, of the 14 Eastern Shore experimental permits, how many of those were active on the Eastern Shore?
I got this right here. Good question. Of the 14, like I said, we haven't had, this is why it's remained experimental over there. We haven't had a lot of activity. We've given, a lot of people get the permits, and a lot of them don't do a whole lot with it. We have, like I said, we have 14 people who are eligible. The number who have reported in the last 3 years is a total of 5. Only 2 of them have reported more than 50 pounds. We also have a requirement in the regulation, because there is a gear that we want to make sure this gear is right. Before they can fish, we have to approve the gear. We go in and inspect it. So we have had 7 of these people had their gear inspected, so at least they've built the gear and they have it. So we have 5 that have actually, harvested during these 3 years.
Thank you. I didn't know it was that few of a number in an area that's 3 times the size of the Virginia Beach area, from what you told me.
They've had some problems over there. It's there's a lot of sandways over there. There's a lot of unknown wrecks, and folks will go out and they're not successful one day, and they just stop doing it, or somebody will go out and they'll damage their gear and say, well, I got to start over again. So there have been 2 individuals who've stuck with it, and we had a meeting in May of 2024, and that was a lot of the discussion. The Eastern Shore folks felt that we can't get going on this, we can't get it working, and I'll name him Bobby Kreischer, who started this in 2017. He said, the first year I did it, I had a really, really hard time. I mean, did like 15 to 20 trips and didn't catch a whole lot. There was a steep learning curve on it for them.
Commissioner Fulton.
Chief, my great concern is if you go from 12, and I could see if we said, let's make it 13 licenses in the southern trawl area, but to go to 26, that's a lot of pressure on, now they've established where the shrimp are, but if you put 26 trawlers in that area, in an area that's 3 nautical miles off the coast, I see that as potentially causing some serious problems. I read the one comment of the captain who submitted it, in that if they get a lot of pressure dragging trawls through, that's going to scatter the shrimp. And as we all know, at least from the meeting last year, the North Carolina shrimp industry is right outside the 3-mile line in the federal waters with 225-foot, trawl nets.
And just below on the state line.
Yeah, they're in state waters below the line.
Yeah, and state waters below the line, but off our shrimp trawl area, they'll be right off the 3 miles, 3.1 miles, and they're the 225. So I'm very concerned about establishing 26 licenses in Virginia Beach and essentially, because from the information you just told us, the Eastern Shore guys aren't going to trawl the Eastern Shore. They're going to come to Virginia Beach. And that is a serious problem.
They would have the option, obviously. They don't have any option now.
I would much rather see 2 distinct areas with permits in each of those areas.
Licenses in each area.
Licenses or permits, the southern area of 12 or 13 and the Eastern Shore of 14 or 15, and go that way than disrupt what's already established in Virginia Beach. That's just my thoughts.
Okay.
Commissioner, over to you, sir.
Any more questions, thoughts, concerns?
I would say that we knew that number 1 was going to be the biggest item of discussion today. And so I think all the other items on there are beneficial to anybody doing this. It's, making a longer season, allowing modifications of the gear and things like that. So,
so the additional height of the beam trawl, you don't see that affecting bycatch or a real negative impact?
I'll give you an idea what our bycatch numbers are. I'll show you. Okay. You'll hear in social media, it's 10 pounds of shrimp, 10 pounds of bycatch for every pound of shrimp. I ran a large shrimp fishery in Georgia for 16 years, and I never saw those kind of numbers. Typically what happens is if you're not catching shrimp, you'll have more bycatch. When you start catching a lot of shrimp, your bycatch goes down. Typically in the southeast, the bycatch is anywhere between, from what I've observed, anywhere between 1.5 and about 3 pounds of bycatch for every pound of shrimp. What we're seeing overall is less than a half pound of bycatch. And during many months, it's less than that. But overall, it's less than a half a pound of bycatch for every pound of shrimp we catch, which is extraordinarily low for a shrimp fishery. I mean, we're doing great with that. And you can see the species that we're catching. They're mostly cyanid species: spot, weakfish, whiting, and croaker. So, we've done this since 2017, and that's why we grew it so slowly. We wanted to make sure we kept that bike. We knew that was going to be the biggest issue, and we wanted to keep that under control. And I think we've done a real good job with that.
Is that because of the bycatch is what's eating the shrimp?
Excuse me?
Is that because of the bycatch is what's eating the shrimp?
No, they're the same size.
They're small.
Usually what they're catching juvenile fish, so they're pretty small fish.
That's
You said that there would be no more like daily call-in or text in to Chris about it. There would be a place on our mandatory reporting to put bycatch on it?
We're going to take care of that for you.
Okay.
We're going to make it real easy. Just put it down in the comments, section. You just put bycatch equals and you put the pounds.
Okay.
And this way you don't have to do things twice. You don't.
Yeah.
I mean, the call-ins have been great, especially the previous secretary. He was really excited about this. So he'd call me every day. What did they do yesterday? How much did they catch yesterday? And that year where they were catching so much, he was beside himself. He thought it was great because they caught, somebody caught 4,000 pounds yesterday. So it's but I think at this point, I mean, that was one of the things when we met last year. They said, do we really have to keep doing this?
Yeah.
And I think it just makes sense.
I think, Chief, that slide you just had, I think, based on your background in Georgia and experience there, using the observer trips, fisheries independent data, I guess, I mean, it adds a real value to determining what your bycatch is in our fishery with the gear we're using, because I think Georgia uses a different method or different system, but that's very valuable, that our bycatch is really not that significant.
It isn't. I mean, that's probably the word I would use. And like I said, this is overall, it varies. It's going to vary from month to month, from year to year, but it is relatively low. And the species that we're catching are usually juveniles of the drum family, like I said.
And that's not likely to change with the Eastern Shore, because I don't know how much of this is Eastern Shore observation.
None of it is Eastern Shore. We haven't had a single, there's been so low activity on Eastern Shore, we haven't done a single observer trip over there.
And that's why I think the Eastern Shore is, it's probably logistics is the number of, I mean, Virginia Beach, Rudy Inlet, that's the prime port to leave out of. Eastern Shore, you don't have a lot of good choices and a lot of
Chincoteague is one of the areas that some of the folks are working out of.
Yeah, Maryland is currently looking at our model to build a shrimp program at Ocean City.
Yeah, they already have. They've started. I've been working real closely with them where their Ocean City trawling fleet wanted to go ahead and use large nets, like I showed. And after a long discussion, I said, it works in Virginia. Why don't we just do the exact same thing? And it was interesting that their legislature said, if Virginia has a shrimp fishery, we have to have one too. So no offense to my friends to the north, but that's pretty much what happened.
The license applications, do they have to be Virginians or can they be out of state?
If they have a commercial fishing registration license, they can be. They don't have. If they have a Virginia commercial fishing registration license, they'll be eligible.
But to be clear, this is not a lottery. These 14 individuals that he's talking about already have a permit or have had one. This is not like, hey, let's go out there and do a lottery and we're going to pull a bunch of out-of-staters in here. The 14 people that have had a permit before will just be eligible for the license like the ones down in Virginia Beach.
We are opening it up just to the people who had an experimental fishing permit. Now, if someone does not renew their license or does not meet the minimum landings requirements, that license becomes available July 1, and then we will issue a lottery. And we had to do that last year in Virginia Beach, where people applied and we, picked the name out of a hat and said, congratulations, you get the license. So we only do a lottery if the number of if we had, like right now, the number of licenses is 12. If at July 1, it's below that, then we hold a license. We hold a lottery, I'm sorry.
Ms. Kellum?
With that being said, on the Eastern Shore, you mentioned there was inactivity or only 50 pounds catch. So how are they remaining to hold on to their license?
Well, that's once you have a license. once you have a license. That's
Experimental.
that's a requirement for the license.
Thanks.
Yeah, for the experimental, it's a little, we put that condition in there that number 2 on, I think it was under H, no, it was under B, that allowed them to, that's how we were going to get them into the fishery and have, instead of having an experimental fishery each year, having the license. And the experimental fishery takes a lot of work because we have to collect all those applications each year. We have to go through them. We have to issue, we have to inspect it. Once somebody has the license, they're authorized for that license each year. And usually around June 1st, if someone hasn't bought the license, we'll usually give them a call and say, you better buy it by July 1 or you're going to lose it. And, some people say, I'm not going to use it then. And it's okay, well, then it's going to be available.
And to be clear on it, there was a couple of reasons it was state experimental, so it's not a license now. Only the Virginia Beach has a license. Legislation was submitted, the legislation that Chief Gear is talking about was submitted by the administration to streamline this, to make, just say, we just have shrimp areas and just have a shrimp license, instead of having the two designated differences. One of the things is we had to change the code because there was a restriction on time. As Chief Gear was talking about the time, everything to start. Well, the Eastern Shore couldn't start, but they were restricted very much more tighter than the Virginia Beach area. So the legislation was put in to mirror everything up by the administration.
I mean, if the Virginia Beach is probably, I'll say late October through early January is the season for the most part. The way the code was, they couldn't fish on Eastern Shore until November 1, and if the fishery would have been gone, but it was over by then. So by having this, we can move that. That's why we moved it up for everybody to the 15th.
And for clarification, you can't run a fishery like this, like you said, on experimental permits. You can't. I mean, we're at the point now. You either got to make a decision or it shuts down. That whole area shuts down.
So, for clarification, Commissioner, are we doing away with the Eastern Shore experimental program and
That is the idea.
Yes.
Well, thank you.
That's why only the ones eligible are the ones that had a permit for that. Even if they didn't utilize it, you're the only one eligible. Any further questions?
I guess I do have just a clarification. So of the 14 being offered, obviously going to Eastern Shoreman, who had the experimental permit, and of those 14, only 2 of them actively fished over the last year or 2. Is that roughly?
I believe there's a total of 5.
Okay.
But only 2 of them had more than 100 pounds of landings.
All right, that's okay. Okay, that's the piece of
Total or for a year? Total or for
Total for those 3 years.
Yeah. Over 100 pounds for 3 years.
So, and then opening the season to September 15th would provide a fishery on that Eastern Shore.
Yes.
In that trawl area. Okay. So I definitely see Mr. Board Member Ransom's comment. You open up waters to 26 potential boats off of Virginia Beach. Reality, I just don't know that I see 26 boats out of 14 new licenses that's being offered to people that already had the license to fish that did not. But of course, in their areas, some stipulations there. But they now have a season that will benefit them locally, essentially too. So I guess my biggest fear is overfishing the area and driving a market for these shrimp gone, where the active folks in the Virginia Beach area that have been producing the most landings find it not, it's not a benefit to actually fish now that's been, the ones that have been carrying the fishery for the last few years are now driven out of it because of heavy concentration.
You hit a key with marketing. Marketing is, with shrimp marketing is the biggest thing. About 92% of all shrimp eaten in this country is imported.
Correct.
And so, and that number is creeping up ever higher.
Yeah.
And, the shrimp industry, especially in the South, they have alliances to deal with this, but they know they're never going to get that back. They're just trying to hold on to their share of it. So the idea is to create a niche. And some of the gentlemen have done really ingenious ideas where they get a Facebook following and say, hey, I'm going out today, I'm shrimp are plentiful. And then people, and I've been down there when he was there, people just come and pull up in their cars and pull out their coolers and they're buying 5-pound bags of shrimp, which it becomes a niche fishery.
Yes.
And in that regard, and there are so many things marketing-wise we can do better. I mean, they're not heading the shrimp, and a lot of restaurants won't take it if the shrimp isn't headed. It lasts a lot longer to market if you take the head off. So, but it takes time to pluck the heads off of 7,000 pounds of shrimp. And, you know, I've laughed with them because I've done it before. I'm like, come on, it's not that hard. But if you're coming into shore and you're only 10 minutes away from the dock, you're not going to get that much done. But there's a lot of things they could do. Once the southern states close their fisheries in January, the price of shrimp is going to go up because there's no one fishing on the East Coast. So having freezer capabilities would be great. So there's a lot of things we can do working with the Virginia Products Board that can help the marketing of this fishery.
Yeah, and to talk about marketing, though, to talk about it, you would need to have more of a general knowledge of the shrimp market. And you don't really, obviously didn't know, the Carolinians have tied their boats up last year. Right. In most places up here. The shrimp market wholesale has been tough a lot, been very, very tough, been low due to the farm raised stuff. So to say that there's a market competition here, these guys, most of them are surviving off of retail. Most of them are.
Retailing themselves.
Yeah.
Well, I guess the piece I'm talking about, the market doesn't even exist here in Virginia for them other than the retail off the tailgate.
There's one particular one that buys some quantity, but that's.
In Virginia?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, there's a few of them that sell it right from the dock. Some of them will take it back and sell it in, take it back to their, home, where they live and sell it in a market up there. I mean, it's, there's a market for local shrimp. There's no doubt.
I 100% agree.
Retail market.
A retail market.
There's a retail market.
What I'm focused in on is the wholesale market. I guess that's just where my brain is.
No, because when we did have a deal down in Virginia Beach, and he would pay them $2 to $2.50 per pound, and a lot of these guys also spiny dogfish fishing, but he was also the deal for spiny dogs. So if he wanted them to spiny dogfish, he would lower the price for shrimp, and they would move over.
Or die type deal.
But it's these small niche fisheries is the way to go to survive. And selling if you can sell it all into Richmond restaurants, you'd probably do very well.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's more of a niche market like you were talking about. That's not the, going to the dock selling 10,000 pounds of one person all the time. Yes, sir.
Chief, of the two Eastern Shore shrimpers that delivered over 100 pounds over the 3 years, are they also licensed in Virginia Beach? No, so they're separate.
No, the 14 we're talking about, none of them have a
licensed.
license in
Yeah,
Virginia Beach.
you can't.
You can't.
Every one of them put in for the lottery and didn't get it, so they went ahead and went for their
that's
farm.
what everyone did. If they didn't get through the lottery, get a license,
I
a
share the
lot of them
concern
got
about the
Eastern Shore.
commercial,
Everyone got
the wholesale market for shrimp. They do very well in Rudy Inlet, selling the shrimp off the boat, basically, to, retail. But that's one thing we talk about it with blue catfish. We don't have that market developed locally.
The last major
Wish
shrimp.
there was more.
The last major shrimp boat captain down south has been a dear friend of mine for years. And he has the last few years, he hasn't even come here and caught them because they went to 70 cent to him, to the dock, but 70 cent with no market. So you had we talk about all these big trawl boats that are laying there and catching them in Carolina or laying offshore to scatter. Well, that's been very limited due to the market most of the years, since we've been doing this. Market's been tight. They get the aquaculture. What's up?
So Randy, let me just be clear, because we've talked a lot of
I'm
numbers.
Pat.
Huh?
I'm Pat, that's
Oh,
right.
excuse me.
That's okay.
I'm sorry. 12 in Virginia Beach, 14 in Eastern Shore presently.
We have 12 licenses. It's a regulated fishery in
Right.
Virginia
We don't
Beach.
have any licenses.
Eastern Shore is still an experimental fishery, and we've had 19 permits over the last 3 years. 14 are eligible under the criteria that we have.
Okay, so that's how you get your 26. So
Right.
if you dump them all in one bucket,
Right.
then all of those 26 could come to Virginia Beach and fish.
The way it is now, yes.
Okay. So let's just say hypothetically, the commission said, I'm just going to throw it a number 20 instead of 26 total. How would those other 6 people get kicked to the curb?
They would be out. But
How would you determine which ones?
well, we would determine it by this table probably. You can see we've had a number of people who've had a permit for 3 years, but they've never fished. They've never done anything. So you as a board have to tell me how you want that done. I mean, right now, there's 14 people that met the criterion that you had a permit. If you want to make that more stringent, where you say, well, they have to have some kind of landings, that takes it down to 5. If you say they have to have more than 100 pounds of landings, it takes it down to 2 people. If you want people, permitters, people have had their gear inspected, because if you've had your gear built and inspected, I would assume you have an intentions of fishing because it costs you money to do that. So that's 7 people.
Yeah.
So, but we have some folks that, I don't know if you want to do it by year, because you have 5 people who've had the permit all 3 years. Some of them have never done anything at all. Some have had it 2 to 3 years. Some have had it only 1 of the last 3 years. But some of those people are actually fishing. They fished last year. So it's getting really, it's not clean on how to do this. So, if you want to do something less than that, we'll have to figure out the best way to do it. And there'll be some people who are, left out, in a sense.
I'm just looking at Eastern Shore.
Yeah.
Because there's only so many places you can get out of Eastern Shore into the Atlantic. And that's probably what's driving some of this, plus the transportation issues, the refrigeration, all of that stuff, which it makes Virginia Beach more attractive.
Yeah, and I'll add a little bit to that. If you ever know any shrimpers, some of them travel quite a bit, as you know, to shrimp.
The Smith, yeah.
Yeah, and they travel quite a bit, so I get that. But in the event the shrimp do what they've been doing, when Chief Gear started this program, we started to see an increase in volume moving up. And so if they keep moving up the coast, maybe eventually the shore will be the hottest spot, maybe.
I can guarantee you they're on the Eastern Shore, because they've been seeing them off of Delaware Bay.
And
Maryland started a fishery, so they're there.
And so the interest, we're focused on, well, all these people will come in Eastern Shore. Well, the Virginia Beach guys could go to the Eastern Shore when that changes. We're going to make 2 different areas, and then 2 years from now, we're going to be back here arguing whether or not we give Virginia Beach the Eastern Shore permit.
Commissioner, I'd be interested if there's, in the crowd, if there's any Virginia Beach shrimpers here that would venture to the Eastern Shore, take advantage of that early season if they.
Well, it wouldn't necessarily be an early season if they're starting both
Same
areas
time.
at the same time.
No, it would not. Now that the season has.
But in theory, the shrimp would be further up and hadn't worked their way down. I get what
That's
you're
right.
saying. I'm picking up what you're putting down.
Yeah.
In theory. Well, I'll open it up to the floor in a second once the commission finishes chewing this up. Any more discussion? Thank you, Pat. I appreciate it. Is there anyone in the audience that wishes to speak on this matter? Please come forward. No. Raise your right hand. You swear to tell the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, sir.
State your name for the record.
My name's Mark West. I'm a resident of Norfolk, Virginia, and I've been fishing in the Eastern Shore experimental shrimp fishery since 2022. The first year I didn't make my gear, wasn't ready in time. The second year, 2023, I had a lot of problems with the gear. 2024, I actually did a little bit of fishing over there. I had a lot of problems hitting rocks and stuff. Just little things that happen when you're fishing. Over there, I'm all by myself. The whole time I fished since the beginning, since 22, I've never seen another boat out there with me. The bottom on the Eastern Shore is nothing like Virginia Beach. In Virginia Beach, you have a long, straight beach. The topography of the Eastern Shore, there is not like that. You cannot just go up and down the beach. The sandbars come out a couple miles. I actually brought my chart plotter with me to show y'all if you would like to see the difference in the two.
If you want to lose your chart plotter, you can show it to us.
It's just a laptop right there.
We're going to take it if you do that. You just keep talking.
Well, that's about it. I leave Norfolk morning about 3 o'clock. I drive over the Chesapeake Bay Bridge Tunnel. I head up to Cape Charles. Takes me about an hour to do that. I get on the boat. I drive out of the bay. It takes me about 2 hours to get out of the bay. So I've got 3 hours to get to the fishing grounds, hopefully at sunrise, depending on the current. So I feel like I would do a lot better, especially once you come December and January when the days get short. Each day to fish, I have 6 hours of travel, not counting the fishing time. So that cuts a lot in on my fishing. And it also discourages me from wanting to go when I know I've got 6 hours invested in just commuting on the boat and in the car, and the days are short. How much time can I spend out there fishing? So that's going to be why I'm not producing a lot of shrimp on the Eastern Shore. I would love to fish more, but there's so many factors. extremely being alone is definitely not good. I mean, it's always better to have another boat around with you. If something happens, if something happens over there on the Eastern Shore, I'm there. I'm all by myself. I mean, so I'm really hoping that y'all decide to go with the staff recommendations. And I will agree that doubling the fleet size inside of a year could be a little bit drastic. I would suggest maybe a 33% at the most at any 1 year increase, just so it doesn't shock everybody. All of a sudden a bunch of new guys out there. Let the guys kind of get in and learn to work together instead of just dumping a bunch of new guys in there all of a sudden. That would be something, and I think the guys that are already involved in Virginia Beach would appreciate that. But everything else that's recommended, I totally support it, and that's it. Unless y'all have any questions for me.
So what you're saying, I got one question. So you're saying is you accept the recommendations as long as you get one, right?
Well, listen.
I'm up
not
here.
going to tell you.
I'm up here.
Oh, excuse me.
I'm up here.
Yes, sir. I'm not going to tell you that.
So as long as you get one, you're okay with it.
Hey.
If you don't get one, are you okay with it?
Well, I mean, what can I say? It is what it is. I can tell you that it's extremely difficult. It's like climbing uphill all the time to fish the Eastern Shore. You get out there. If you're lucky, the tide, all kind of things. Chesapeake Bay Bridge Tunnel, they could shut that thing down when you're on your way to work in the morning. You could sit there for half an hour, and that stuff affects you because you're already going downhill. You're already treading backwards. First thing, it's 3 o'clock in the morning. So I think that the fishery does need to expand in Virginia Beach. The beach is 100% more fishable all the way down to the Carolina line. It looks to me like those boats on that thing, they're fishing like it appears to be off the golf ball. There's tons more beach all the way down to False Cape. There's plenty of room out there, and you got somebody wants to fish up close, somebody can fish out far. You said the North Carolina boats, they stay outside 3 miles. So I just think everything that Mr. Greer has set up is good for the fishery. The only thing with the guys from Virginia Beach, that they may not want too many boats all at one time.
Thank you for your time. I got your time's up. Any questions for the speaker? Questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Remember, guys, you got 3 minutes. I've been letting y'all go over, and y'all keep saying the same thing over and over again. Just tell me something I haven't heard. Raise your right hand. You swear to tell the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Please state your name for the record.
George Trice. I got one of the 12 permits for Virginia Beach. And if I weren't mistaken, that first slide from VIMS, did they show where they caught a lot of shrimp on the Eastern Shore? The first slide Pat showed? Because yeah, I looked at it, it looked like the whole way up the coast it was shrimp. So if they've never been able to fish in September, if you leave the Eastern Shore people maybe up there for 1 year, and if they could go early, maybe they could catch them where they're at. I know Pat said we only use 5% of the water down there, but the shrimp are in tight little balls, and you can mark them. So, I mean, at times we'll run 4 or 5 hours before we even put stuff in the water sometimes, looking for them. And 2 or 3 boats can go through there and bust them up so quick that they're gone. I mean, you can't buy a shrimp down there. When 7 or 8 boats go through it, you got one shot to get them, and that's it. And when that's gone, you got to let them settle back down. And the reason that 7,000 pounds was caught this year, I was down there all by myself. And 1 boat can work on them all day, 2 boats a couple hours, 8 boats 30 minutes. So, and market, it's no market other than what you can sell at the house. I'm pretty fortunate. I sell to Wanchese and they buy my overflow. So, but that's one of the only reasons that I could keep going was I had market for the shrimp. And I guess I don't want to see people not be able to make a living. I know 26 boats is a lot of boats to put down there because you can see where we work. It's all in a small, tight-knit area. And we've worked all the way to the state line, but once they leave where you see us, you got 1 or 2 days and they're gone. They kind of, that's where we catch them, and that's what it is. I guess, I don't know if you could let them work early on the Eastern Shore one year and see what they do, and then maybe next year let a few in or something, but 26 would, I think it would ruin the fishery quick.
Ms. Kell?
How many boats do you think Virginia Beach could withstand, in your opinion?
I mean, I don't do as good when it's all 7 or 8 of us working.
Cut it back to one? Cut it back to just
No.
you? That's what we should do?
I'm like Mark, the ocean's a lonely place. I worked down there about a month by myself, and but I mean, 7 or 8 boats can bust them up quick. You know, I don't know how many people might I have
That shows the daily effort by vessels, so the number of vessels that are on the ground on those days. So
Yeah.
It's, you know, we had 12 licenses down. We had 12 licenses down there, but between 2021, since we created this as a limited entry fishery in 2021, no more than 9 boats have ever been on the grounds on any given day. And the average in November has been about 4. So you can kind of see it does vary as much.
Let's put some context to that, though. 'Cause I hate to say it, since I know something, I gotta say something. The context to why there's 9 is that there may have been the other 3 were selling shrimp at the back of their truck and trying to get rid of what they caught the day before. Because they're doing
All
retail.
it's shown is who.
I mean, it could happen. It could happen. It could happen, is what I'm saying. Because they do, a lot of these guys are retailing them now, right? I mean, you retail some, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And so you can't fish and retail at the same time.
Well, my wife sells them for me.
Yeah,
so-
well, some of them can't, some people can't.
Question for Pat, with that being said, are there Virginia Beach licensed boats that are inactive?
No, when I say that, when I say active, they're on they reported that day that they fished. That's what
Okay.
this is. So, and you can see it's variable, and right around Thanksgiving, nobody was fishing right in there. But on average, it's like, that's up on average for that whole time period for those months. It's on average in November, 4.34 boats are on the grounds on any given day in November. So, but it is variable. It's as high as 9, but it's, the average is 4.
Follow up?
Yes, ma'am.
But still, with that being said, there are no inactive licenses?
No, there's no inactive license. They're just not fishing on that given day. That's all that means. It's like if you took a flight over the ground and you counted how many boats were out fishing that day, that's what this applies to. The other boats might not be at the dock because they might be doing something else working, but they still have an active license. It's just not active on that individual day. Fishing.
Mr. Hadley?
I got one comment. You see a big decline around the beginning of December, but that was only because that's when the dog fishing started.
Could be, yeah.
So,
There's factors in, as Commissioner Green said, a lot of these guys have dogfish permits, and if there's a market for that and they want that done, they'll shift over. There's always a lull in this fishery too, where all of a sudden it stops and everyone gets out, and people like George stay in. All of a sudden, man, in January, him and a few other ones start catching a lot of shrimp in the end of December into January sometimes, because the shrimp are coming out in pulses. They're leaving the bay in pulses.
Some people like to spend Christmas at home.
It's true too. That is true too.
Christmas week. And I don't blame them. Any more questions for Mr. Trice? Thank you. Thank you. We appreciate you. Is anyone else wish to speak? Please come forward at this time. Please raise your right hand. You swear to tell the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, sir.
Please state your name for the record.
My name's Charles D. Marino. I've had a experimental permit for the last 3 years. I've reported over 50 pounds. I go every year, like a needle in a haystack by myself, just as some of the others say. It's tough over there, but I know the Eastern Shore like the back of my hand. I've worked there since I was a kid. And there are inlets, because I think you touched on it, about how hard it is to get out over there. Wise Point, Oyster, Willis Wharf, especially Watch Parade. It's a very good place. but I go to all those places by myself. And I go out and I worked with Bobby Chrysler, who gave me some tips and pointers and showed me how to do it on the Virginia Beach side. So I bought 2 of everything. Spent tens of thousands of dollars to try to make, try to make money, try to make Virginia's shrimp industry. I want to be a part of it. I like the proposals. Marketing is an issue. It's going to be, I've been to Ocean City, went there last week, trying to find a new outlet to get rid of some of the shrimp. Wine, cheese, they'll buy some. But I'm going to try not to go where everybody else is when it comes to selling. I'd like to be able to go to Virginia Beach with the guys, but I will spend most of my time to try on the shore. And hopefully some of them guys will come up if I can catch some and say, hey, come help me. Instead of being by myself. I've dog fished up there out of Watchprig. From there north in November, where every dogfish had tentacles hanging out of their mouth full of shrimp, big white shrimp. They're hung in the nets. They're there. You just have to be there at the right time to catch them. And what happens for me is I go out there and try, but oyster dredging's there. And oyster dredging is a short thing for me. I'm going to go catch my limit every day. I got wife, kids to take care of, and so I just do it very limited. I want to do it, and a license to go on either side would benefit me tremendously. I also noticed that not many people went down south, way down south, and I don't think for a minute that the shrimp are only where these guys are at. It's only where they know they're at for sure. Sure, there's some other biomasses up and down, but, I understand the concern for 26 boats. I guess my input on that to limit it would be to someone that anybody that's had their gear inspected. I don't know, but it's hard to get someone. I know a couple guys that have the license permit and never used it. Their biggest thing was they didn't want to spend the money in the trawl. My trawl was $7,500 just for the beam, and it was insane. I bought two nets, new hydraulics. I have a new boat this year for it, bigger, so I can spend more time out there. But
Well, thank you.
nobody on an experimental fishery.
Can you kind of wrap it up, please?
Yeah, experimental fisheries spending 30, 40 grand, it's hard to do. For a license, I believe you would see more people try on Eastern Shore.
Absolutely. Thank you. Is there any, Mr. Branson?
Captain, thank you. Yeah, I see the challenge that the Eastern Shore has in 2 forms. One is the logistics, as you point out. I've been in and out of some of those landings that you talk about.
Yes,
And, but also the challenge in understanding the ground you're trawling and all the obstructions. As I talked with Chief Gear, that sailors have been missing the Chesapeake Bay for centuries.
Yes, sir.
And crashing into the beach and whatever. And there's so many hangs out there. You got to work your ground to figure out where your risk is. And that's part of the growing of that Eastern Shore, Eastern Shore shrimp fishery. That I see as the challenge. And I don't know what part of the Eastern Shore you shrimp. If you're down south, if you leave out of Wise Point, I imagine you're down south.
I gill net out there, sharkfish and spotfish and stuff like that in the ocean. And I know where the grounds are suitable to trawl. Behind Cobb Islands, where everybody would like to go, because it's a like strong stretch that's moved over. There are even over old oyster beds that it would have been impossible to trawl over there. Anybody that came there and tried that, no.
That's why you got two
Paramore
rigs.
North is good, you know, unless we have a hurricane and then everything
Right.
dies out.
Shut it down.
Thank you.
Any more questions for the speaker? Thank you. Is there anyone else in the audience that wishes to speak?
I don't think anybody's left.
We're good. All right. Matters before the commission.
Mr. Commissioner, I would like to make a motion, if Pat wouldn't mind putting it back to the staff recommendations real quick, because I do have some in my motion. My motion would be, Mr. Commissioner, to change the addition, so we would not be increasing it by 14 licenses. We would be increasing it by 5, based off the fact that those are the 5 that have reported a catch over the course of the last few years. The additional 9 licenses that would be just kind of the difference there would be turned into a potential lottery in 2027. If I'm thinking about my years correctly, I'm getting a little age on me, but I'm not the oldest here. But be the 2027, I believe, would be the following season.
26.
Correct, 2026. I had written that down the first time, but then I erased it.
This winter is 2025, 2026?
Correct.
It'll be for next year, be this
20
time next year.
It'd be 26, 27.
Yeah.
Okay. So limited new license be issued would be 5. Obviously, those 5 are going towards the Eastern Shoremen that have reported a catch. They have the option to get those licenses.
And if they don't get the license, they'll have until July 1.
There you go.
Next year to get it. And if they don't,
It goes into that lottery
whatever
piece.
license to be done will go into a lottery.
That's correct. If the fish, and then we have that time frame to look at that fishery after increasing this license by 5, or increasing the number of licenses by 5 over the course of the entire Virginia waterways on the ocean front, we can look at that fishery and see if it deems okay of those 9 potential licenses to go out as lottery, as long as we don't kill it. And then they accept the rest of the staff recommendations as they are.
All right. Got-
Can I just ask, is something, I want to clear up?
Yeah.
So he's added 5 instead of going to 26, it'd be 17.
That's correct.
Yes.
And then the other 9, would they retain their Eastern Shore licenses?
No,
Or would they lose them?
They're out.
They go away.
They would be available for
Couldn't
the
let them
lottery
just
next year.
fish Eastern Shore like they're doing now?
No.
So they don't lose the license?
Well, they haven't put
They
any
don't have a
input.
license, they have an experimental fishing
Yeah,
permit.
and they haven't put any input into the fishery as far as
I got it,
fishing or
I got
anything.
it, yeah.
We don't know we don't know which ones have bought gear.
Right.
We know which ones the gear has been inspected.
I guarantee say you only know which's been inspected. You don't know who's bought.
They could have.
Because you know they're gonna be coming out tomorrow as soon as you vote on this. And I've already, I live in Tangier, got a permit, and I've got this gear here. Now, what am I supposed to do with it?
Yeah, go,
I mean, just, or anywhere on the shore for
well,
that.
we could do this in a ton of different fisheries, which it does drive me crazy. People hold license and hold gear, but they never actually report. And I have several next generation watermen that would love to be able to make a career out
Exactly,
of it.
that's why when we started this fishery, we did it with a use or lose.
That's
You
correct.
You had to, and I really want to see that continue.
Yes.
It's not transferable, is it, Pat?
It's only transferable if you say it is under a medical issue. Medical or military or,
So when they
some
come
other-
back in there, they go back to the lottery every time.
Yeah.
Ms. Scuttle.
Pat, how many vessels did you say had been inspected on the Eastern Shore?
7.
7 vessels.
So with that being said, I'll reach out to Commissioner Preston. Would you reconsider that? For I guess the watermen that have already invested the money?
Ms. Kellum, I just have a hard time there's no guarantee that they even have that gear still today, or if they didn't use it of someone else's to try to check the first box in order to fish it. So I feel as if most of them used it, right, at 5 of the 7, yes, sir.
Ironically, only 4 of the 5 that have a license had the gear inspected. We're looking at one of them does not have his gear inspected, but he only made 1 trip. So I don't.
Mr. Branson.
Yeah, Chief, but I see the increase in the licenses issue that the gentleman mentioned, but there's only been 2 shrimpers that have reported 100 pounds over the last 3 years. There's only been 2 and so I'm assuming those are 2 of the 5 we're talking about. What'd the other 3 do? Anything?
Did a couple of trips, just a couple. You know, if I have permission from the folks in the audience who spoke, these 2 folks, you know, Mr. West would clearly qualify. Mr. DiMarino is just a little under that, but he hasn't made that many trips, and as he said, but he's been involved.
Right.
He's been involved.
Well, I think so what we're getting at is that, you know, if you got captains that are involved and committed, these 2 gentlemen, obviously, you came down here to talk and you've got gear but then there's another one. There's a number 5 out there somewhere.
Yeah.
So if they wanted to grow, I was personally in favor of 2 separate areas, licenses or permits for each, and manage it that way, rather than bring too many people into Virginia Beach. But increasing in a couple would be fine, I would think.
Yeah.
But maybe not 5, maybe 4. But, you know, I'm just concerned with scattering the shrimp, like Captain Price mentioned. You know, if you get more than so many boats working it, boom, you know, they're gone, and there's wasted effort. Cost per unit, catch per unit effort goes way down, and, you know, it's detrimental to our fishery down south.
I would say, given how low the landings are over there, I would say if anybody made an attempt and reported landings, they probably should qualify for the permit. And so, because it is, you know, some of the guys have tried and they just go out, and some of them, they went out the first day and destroyed the gear, and then they have to rebuild it. So, you know, we've had 2 people who have been somewhat successful over that, not as much, you know, but their effort's low, but they've had some success doing it. Mr. West being one of them. He's been probably the most successful one over there at this point.
Mr. Erskine?
I just had a point of clarification. So there was motion on the floor, but it was not seconded, is that
Not
correct?
yet. We're still discussing. Motion by Mr. Preston.
I'll second it for the purpose of discussion.
Got a second. I was trying to get to that, and everybody's jumping to the microphone. So we have a second. All right, now we got more discussion to go. Mr. Hand.
So what is the motion? Is it
The
4 or
motion is to
5?
increase to 5.
Right, the
5.
second hits at 5.
It's a 5,
And
okay.
then the 9 remaining would be available for the lottery next year.
Those 5, though, would go to the Eastern Shore.
Well, no, they can go wherever they want.
Yeah, but she's
No,
talking about
but I
Eastern-
mean, the 5 would be
It's, all
first.
that's available right now is the 14 permitted people on Eastern Shore.
But they're not necessarily all from the Eastern Shore.
Yeah, some of them live there, some of them don't.
Yeah, I'd have a strong suspicion that some of them 9 that are getting eliminated are probably live on the Eastern Shore.
But those would be given the first refusal.
I mean, once the permit goes away, you have, wait a minute, let me correct you on that, Mr. Edwards. Once the permit goes away, if you vote on 5, them 9 will no longer have priority after that. They're done. They're going in the lottery like everybody else.
Well, they don't have any skin in the game yet.
Sir?
Yes, sir.
Commissioner Hand.
Mr. Hand.
I think adding 5 is a good number, because I think it should be people who have purchased gear, who have fished, and who have reported. And that would be limited to 5, as I understand it.
Technically, it would be limited to 4 because one person who has landings, according to what we have, hasn't had his gear inspected. So it would be 4.
Well, then maybe we should just add 4. And I understand protecting the Virginia Beach fishery, and I think it's one or the other. You either greatly limit the additional people allowed, you know, that have the potential to add to the Virginia Beach, I should say, fishery, or you separate them. But so I'm happy to support 4 or possibly 5, but I don't think there should automatically be 9 more added to a lottery a year later. I think we reconsider it after we see what happens the first year. That's my opinion. So at this point, it's been seconded. I don't think I can modify the motion.
Yeah, friendly amendment.
Sure, you can make it fast.
Okay, but that's what I would hope for, is not to automatically add 9 more next year. But let's see who fishes, what happens, how bad it affects the Virginia Beach fishery before we add on more.
I would like to make an amendment and just see the 9 go away. And in 26, 27, we
It's
can
just open to
determine that
anybody who applies.
by 2 in a lottery, 5, 10, 20, if it.
That would be a whole new discussion. You don't, you don't need to predict your future discussion.
Right.
This
I
one
mean,
here.
it's just there's no guarantee. I just want to make it clear that there's no guarantee for 9 to be issued in 26, 27.
There's no yes, but there's no guarantee that the 5 that you authorize will get the license if they don't get it by July 1, or anyone else who's on.
Yeah, that would be,
now.
it'd be to everybody.
And we've had some talks with some folks. They're getting ready to retire and get out. So it's that we may have a couple. But over the course of the last 4 years, we've only had 1 license in Virginia Beach come available.
Ms. Kellum?
I'm in agreement with Commissioner Preston. However, are we being fair with Eastern Shore and Virginia Beach? As far as Virginia Beach licensees now, have all of their gear been inspected?
Yes.
I mean, are they all participating? I mean, are we playing, are we equal here?
I will say that we had the lowest participation this year than we've had since we started it. And those folks, if they do not participate this upcoming year, they'll lose their license.
I just wanted to make sure we were being fair.
Yeah. Oh, no, we've been as fair can be on this one.
Ain't the requirements, though, you gotta catch 500 pounds?
It's 500 pounds at least every other year. So if somebody didn't fish last year in Virginia Beach and they don't fish this year, their license is gone.
And so.
It's not gone, it goes back into the lottery.
And even more, we'll be back here if we have a hurricane or something, God forbid we have a storm and they run the shrimp out, and they were planning on shrimping this year, didn't shrimp last year, they automatically lose their license. Because they didn't catch 500 pounds on their second year.
But most of the guys have been pretty good about having landings. I mean, we've usually been up between 10 and 11 people every year fishing. But there's some nuances going on with families and things like that right now with a few of the folks.
So I have a motion for 5.
Will
from
you
Mr.
read the motion?
I have a motion to increase to 5, accept everything else from staff's recommendation. I'm gonna keep it at that, we're not gonna talk about the future. Increase by 5, from Mr. Preston, that was seconded by Mr. Erskine. Is that correct?
That's correct. 5 to folks that have reported.
Yeah, we've already
Yeah, okay.
established the eligibility.
5, okay.
Yeah, Mr. Headley?
Not a friendly amendment to change your 5 to 4, to the 4 people that Mr. Gear said were, that actually reported landings.
I'd be wary to do that because we may have overlooked, maybe maybe we did inspect it because we had 2 or 3 people doing the inspections and it didn't hit the database. But I would hope that someone didn't go out fishing until they did get their gear inspected. I know we're splitting hairs at this point on that one.
Friendly amendment to 4 from Commissioner Headley. Commissioner Preston?
The requirement is to have your gear inspected before you fish. I have to rely on the records kept at this commission that those numbers would be
We'll
accurate,
make sure they are
correct?
correct. We'll make sure they are.
So based off of, I would
We have
accept that on the condition that you guys confirm, that the staff here confirms that that gear was not inspected. So, Mr. Headley, is that?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yeah, we would come
That-
back. Yeah, I agree with that.
So we're gonna have a moving target potentially.
Yes, we do, sir.
So what you're saying
At the
is
staff.
5?
If all five that reported, Mr. Green, have had their gear inspected, it looks like Chief might have an update here.
No, I thought I did.
Oh, okay. Then those 5 have the opportunity to get the permit before July 1st. Now, if the true number is if the number that's been reported has been 4, that's what we've heard in here, that 4 of those 5 have actually had their gear inspected.
But it could take 2 minutes to inspect the gear.
Correct.
Can I help the word on that, please?
Yes, sir, please do.
Can we say The motion is to increase the number to a maximum of 5. Eligibility only to those who have had their gear inspected.
That's good, yeah.
Which
You did a really good job translating.
I've been trying to translate what
That's
you've been doing over
Northern
there the
Neck.
whole time.
You did a good job.
If that's the case, I'm sure this gentleman will be calling us tomorrow to get it inspected.
Well,
If it
yeah.
Shouldn't it have been inspected prior to this meeting?
So of the 5 eligible ones with the inspection, the ones we're talking about, up to 5, as long as the requirement is they've had their gear inspected.
As of today's board meeting.
As of today.
That's an interesting motion.
Yes, so we don't have to put all the other stuff. So up to 5, the maximum increase is to 5, but the eligibility requirement is the gear would have to been inspected.
By today.
And so, and then we'll know what the official number is after today. So that we have a request for an amendment to the motion to up to 5 for those who have had their gear inspected on Eastern Shore. Does the seconder, Mr. Erskine, accept the friendly amendment?
Yes.
All right, it's been accepted. So we're up to 5 max, but be only to those who have had their gear inspection expected for eligibility there. Any more discussion? Oh, man, we chopped that one up pretty good.
Commissioner, before you vote, we'll have to change some of the, the regulation a little bit. Primarily in 50B, 50 subsection B2, where it said shall have possessed an experimental fishing permit for shrimp trawling in the years 2022, 2023, or 2024, and had landings during that period, and had their gear inspected.
There you go.
Something along those lines.
That's right.
Okay.
We
I
got
said that out loud for the record, so
Yep.
we all remember it.
So, yep, that's correcting the language in it to match the numbers. Any further discussion? Y'all got that motion down packed, I don't have to repeat it, do I? So, all right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. Any abstentions?
I don't think I said aye, but aye.
All right, so motion carries 8-0. Thank you very much, Mr. Gill.
You're welcome.
That one was interesting.
I knew we were going to have problems with that, number one. I knew and when we started looking at the scenarios, there was nothing that was that clear. I've got one last thing I would just want to tell the board. I am leaving VMRC. I'm retiring. So my last day is going to be August 15th, and I just want to thank the board, for the last 7.5 years, and the staff at VMRC, especially my staff. I mean, we've been working really hard. We've had a real difficult year. We've had, a death of a beloved staff member in the last 12 months. Both of my deputy chiefs were out with long-term illnesses. We've had 5 retirements. We've lost a lot of senior staff right now, so staff have been working diligently trying to keep things going. And, I'm at here, Randy, Adam and I come to the podium, but we're just the tip of the iceberg, because everything you see on here is, a single graph could be, 5 or 6 hours of a person's time putting together. And they really need to be acknowledged for the work they did. And I'm just so proud that I've had the opportunity to work with those people, and I just want to thank them and the board for my 7.5 years here. So thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Very much.
Oh, look at that, they're standing up.
Yeah,
I'm surprised you did that after all that. I was just like, come on, get out of here.
We'll most likely won't let you steal your own thunder and bring you back to a commission meeting, so. But we will definitely miss you and appreciate all the work that you and your staff have put in. That being said, is there any further business? There being no further business, the meeting is adjourned. The next commission meeting will be held on Tuesday, August the 26th, 2025.